This marriage, it's going to be a problem. She is going to be a problem. This war of ours, the one between the vampires and the wers, began several centuries ago with brutal escalations of violence, culminated amid flowing torrents of varicolored blood, and ended in a whimper of buttercream cake on the day I met my husband for the first time. Which, as it happens, was also the day of our wedding. Not quite the stuff of childhood dreams. Then again, I'm no dreamer. I only ever contemplated marriage once, back in the gloomy days of my childhood. Following a few too harsh punishments and a poorly executed assassination attempt, Serena and I concocted plans for a grand escape, which was going to involve pyrotechnics-based diversions, stealing our math tutor's car, and flipping off our caregivers in the rearview mirror. We'll stop by the animal shelter and adopt one of those shaggy dogs. Pick up a Slurpee for me, some blood for you. Disappear forever into human territory. Will they let me in if I'm not human? I asked, even though that was the least of our plan's flaws. We were both 11. Neither of us could drive. Interspecies peace in the Southwest region relied, quite literally, on me staying the hell put. I'll vouch for you. Will that be enough? I'll marry you. They'll believe you're human, my human wife. As proposals went, it seemed solid, so I nodded solemnly and said, I accept. That was 14 years ago, though, and Serena never married me. In fact, she's long gone. I'm here alone, with a giant heap of expensive wedding favors that'll hopefully fool guests into overlooking the lack of love, genetic compatibility, or even previous acquaintance between me and the groom. I did try to arrange a meeting, suggested to my people that they suggest to his people that we could grab lunch the week before the ceremony, coffee the previous day, a glass of tap water the morning of anything to avoid a how do you do in front of the officiant. My request was escalated to the Vampyre Council and resulted in a phone call from one of the members' aides. His tone managed to be polite while heavily implying that I was a cuckoo nutbird. He's a were, a very powerful and dangerous were. Just the logistics of providing security for such a meeting would be. I'll be marrying this dangerous were, I pointed out evenly, and a bashful throat was cleared. He is an alpha, Miss Lark, too busy to meet. Busy with? His pack, Miss Lark. I pictured him in a home gym, tirelessly working on his abs, and shrugged. 10 days have passed, and I have yet to meet my groom. Instead, I've become a project, one that requires a concerted effort from an interdisciplinary crew to look wettable. A manicurist coaxes my nails into pink ovals. A facialist smacks my cheeks with relish. A hairdresser magically hides my pointed ears under a web of dark blonde braids, and a makeup expert paints a different face on top of mine, something interesting and sophisticated and zygomatic. This is art, I tell him, studying the contouring in the mirror. You should be a Guggenheim Fellow. I know, and I'm not done, he reprimands, before dipping his thumb in a pot of dark green stain and swiping it over the insides of my wrists, the base of my throat on both sides, my nape. What's this? Just a bit of color. What for? A snort. I pulled strings and researched where customs. Your husband will like it. He whooshes away, leaving me alone with 5 odd markings and a newfound bone structure. I squeeze into the bridal jumpsuit that the stylist begged me not to refer to as a onesie, and then my twin brother comes to retrieve me. You look stunning, Owen says flatly, distrustfully, squinting at me like I'm a fake $10 bill. It was a team effort. He gestures for me to follow him. I hope they vaccinated you for rabies while they were at it. The ceremony is supposed to be a symbol of peace. That's why, in a heartwarming display of trust, my father demanded an all-vampire armed security detail for the ceremony. The Wers refused, which led to weeks of negotiations, then to a near break of the engagement, and finally to the only solution that could make everybody equally unhappy, staffing the event with humans. There's a tense atmosphere, and then there's this. 1 venue, 3 species, 5 centuries of conflict, and 0 good faith. The black suits escorting Owen and me seem torn between protecting us and killing us themselves, just to get it over with. They wear sunglasses indoors and mutter entertainingly bad code into their sleeves. Bat is flying to the ceremony hall. I repeat, we have Bat. The groom is, uninventively, Wolf. When do you think your future husband will try to kill you? Owen asks conversationally, looking straight ahead. Tomorrow, next week. Who's to say? Within the month, for sure. For sure. One has to wonder if the Wers will bury your corpse or just, eat it. One has to. But if you care to live a bit longer, try tossing a stick when he starts mauling you. I hear they love to fetch. I halt abruptly, causing a slight commotion among the agents. Owen, I say, turning to my brother. Yes, Misery? His eyes hold mine. Suddenly, his indolent, insult comedian mask slips off, and he's not my father's shallow air anymore, but the brother who'd sneak into bed with me whenever I had nightmares, who swore he'd protect me from the cruelty of the humans and the bloodthirstiness of the Wers. It's been decades. You know what went down the last time the vampires and Wers tried this, he says, shifting to the tongue. I sure do. The Aster is in every textbook, albeit with vastly different interpretations. The day the purple of our blood and the green of the Wers flowed together, as bright and beautiful as the blooming flower the massacre was named after. Who the hell would enter a marriage of political convenience after that? Me, apparently. You are going to live among the wolves, alone. Right, that's how hostage exchanges work. Around us, the suits hurriedly check their watches. We have to go. Alone to be slaughtered. Owen's jaw grinds. It's so unlike his usual careless self, I frown. Since when do you care? Why are you doing this? Because an alliance with the Wers is necessary to the survival of. These are Father's words. It's not why you agreed to do this. It's not, but I'm not about to admit it. Maybe you underestimate Father's persuasiveness. His voice drops to a whisper. Don't do this, it's a death sentence. Say you've changed your mind, give me 6 weeks. What will have changed in 6 weeks? He hesitates. A month, Is something amiss? We both jump at Father's sharp tone. For a split second we're children again scolded for existing. As always, Owen recovers quicker. Nah, the vacuous smile is back on his lips. I was just giving Misery a few pointers. Father cuts through the security guards and tucks my hand into his elbow with ease, like it hasn't been a decade since our last physical contact. I force myself not to recoil. Are you ready, Misery? I cock my head, study his stern face. Ask, mostly out of curiosity, does it matter? It must not, because the question isn't acknowledged. Owen watches us leave, expressionless, then yells after us. Hope you packed a lint roller. I hear they shed. One of the agents stops us in front of the double doors that lead into the courtyard. Councilman Lark, Miss Lark, 1 minute. They're not quite ready for you. We wait side by side for a handful of uncomfortable moments, then Father turns to me. In my stylist-mandated heels, I nearly reach his height, and his eyes easily catch mine. You should smile, he orders in the tongue. According to the humans, a wedding is the most beautiful day of a bride's life. My lips twitch. There's something grotesquely funny about all of this. What about the father of the bride? He sighs. You were always needlessly defiant. My failures spare no front. There is no going back, Misery, he adds, not unkindly. Once the hand fasting is complete, you will be his wife. I know. I don't need soothing or encouragement. I've been nothing but unwavering in my commitment to this union. I'm not prone to panic or fear or last-minute changes of heart. I've done this before, remember? He studies me for a few moments, until the doors open to what's left of my life. It's a perfect night for an outdoor ceremony. String lights, soft breeze, winking stars. I take a deep breath, hold it in, and listen to Mendelssohn's March, string quartet rendition. According to the bubbly wedding planner who's been blowing up my phone with links I don't click on, the viola player is a member of the Human Philharmonic. Top 3 in the world, she texted, followed by more exclamation points than I've used in my cumulative written communications since birth. I must admit, it does sound nice. Even if the guests glance around, confused, unsure how to proceed until an overworked staffer gestures at them to stand. It's not their fault. Wedding ceremonies are, as of a century or so ago, exclusively a human thing. Vampire society has evolved past monogamy and wares. I have no clue what wers are up to, as I've never even been in the presence of one. If I had, I wouldn't be alive. Come on. Father grips my elbow, and we start down the aisle. The bride's guests are familiar, but only vaguely. A sea of willowy figures, unblinking lilac eyes, pointed ears. Lips closed over fangs and half-pitying, mostly disgusted looks. I spot several members of my father's inner circle, counselors I haven't met since I was a child, powerful families and their scions, most of whom fawned over Owen and were little shits to me when we were kids. No one here could even remotely qualify as a friend, but in defense of whoever came up with the guest list, my lack of meaningful relationships must have made seat-filling a bit of a challenge. And then there's the groom's side, the one that emanates a foreign kind of heat, the one that wants me dead. The wers' blood beats quicker, louder, its smell coppery and unfamiliar. They are taller than vampires, stronger than vampires, faster than vampires, and none of them seems particularly enthused at the idea of their alpha marrying one of us. Their lips curl as they eye me, defiant, angry. Their loathing is so thick I taste it on the roof of my palate. I don't blame them. I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be here. I don't even blame the whispers, or the catty comments, or the fact that half the guests here never learned that sound carries farther than shit. She used to be the collateral with the humans for 10 years, and now this. I bet she likes the attention. Blade-eared leech. I give her 2 weeks. More like 2 hours if those animals. Either stabilize the region once and for all, or cause full-out war again. Think they're actually going to be fucking tonight. I have no friends on the left, and only enemies on the right, so I ground myself and look straight ahead. At my future husband. He stands at the end of the path, turned away from me, listening to what someone is whispering in his ear. His best man, perhaps. I can't get a good look at his face, but I know what to expect from the picture I was given weeks ago. Handsome, striking, unsmiling. His hair is short, a rich brown cut to a buzz. His suit is black, well fitted across his broad shoulders. He's the only man in the room not wearing a tie, and yet he manages to look elegant anyway. Maybe we share a stylist. As good a starting point for a marriage as any, I suppose. Be careful with him, Father whispers, lips barely moving. He is very dangerous, do not cross him. What every girl wants to hear 10 feet from the altar, especially when the hard line of her groom's shoulders already looks cross. Impatient. Annoyed. He doesn't bother glancing in my direction, as though I'm inconsequential, as though there are other, better things for him to do with his time. I wonder what the best man is whispering in his ear. Maybe a mirror copy of the warnings I got. Misery Lark, no need to be careful. She's not particularly dangerous, so feel free to cross her. What is she gonna do? Chuck her lint roller at you? I snort out a soft laugh, and that's a mistake, because my future husband hears it and finally turns to me. My stomach drops. My step falters. The murmur's quiet. In the photo I was shown, the groom's eyes looked an ordinary, unsurprising blue. But as they meet mine, I realize 2 things. The first is that I was wrong, and his gaze is actually an odd pale green that borders on white. The second is that Father was right. This man is very, very dangerous. His eyes roam over my face, and I immediately suspect that he must not have been given photos. Or maybe he just wasn't curious enough about his bride to check them out. Either way, he's not pleased with me, and that's obvious. Too bad I've cut my teeth on disappointing people, and I'm not about to start caring now. It's on him if he doesn't like what he's seeing. I square my shoulders. A small distance separates us, and I let my eyes pin his as I close it, which is how I see it all happen in real time. Pupils widening. Brow furrowing. Nostrils flaring. He watches me like I'm something made of maggots and takes one deep breath, slow. Then another, sharp, the moment I'm delivered to the altar. His expression widens into something that looks, for an instant, indecipherably shaken, and I knew it. I knew that wers didn't like vampires, but this feels beyond that. It feels like pure, hard, personal contempt. Tough shit, buddy, I think, lifting my chin. I step forward again until we are standing in front of each other, this side of too close. Two strangers who only just met, about to get married. The music wanes, the guests sit. My heart's a sluggish drum, even slower than usual because of the way the groom looms over me, leaning forward to study me like I'm an abstract painting. I watch his chest heave hungrily as if to inhale me. Then he pulls back, licks his lips, and stares. He stares and stares and stares. The silence stretches. The officiant clears his throat. The courtyard breaks into bouts of puzzled mumbles that slowly rise to a sticky, familiar friction. I notice that the best man has unsheathed his claws. Behind me, Vania, the head of my father's guards, is showing her fangs. And the humans, of course, are reaching for their guns. All through that, my future husband still stares. So I step closer and murmur, I don't care how little you like this, but if you want to avoid a second Aster. His hand comes up lightning fast to close around my upper arm, and the warmth of his skin is a shock to my system, even through the fabric of my sleeve. His pupils contract into something different, something animal. I instinctively try to wriggle free of his grasp, and it's a mistake. My heel catches on a cobblestone, and I lose my balance. The groom stops my fall with an arm snaked around my waist, and a combination of gravity and his sheer determination wedges me between him and the altar, his front pressing against mine. He cages me, pins me, and stares down at me like he forgot where he is, and I'm something to be consumed. Like I'm prey. This is highly, oh my, the officiant gasps when the groom growls in his direction. Behind me I hear the tongue and English, panic, screams, chaos, the best man and my father snarling, people yelling threats, someone sobbing. Another Aster in the making, I think. And I really should do something, I will do something to stop it, but... The groom's scent hits my nostrils. Everything recedes. Good blood, my hindbrain hisses, nonsensical. He'd make for such good blood. He inhales several times in rapid succession, filling his lungs, pulling me in. His hand moves up from my arm to the dip of my throat, pressing into one of my markings. A guttural sound rises from someplace low in his chest, making my knees weak. Then he opens his mouth and I know that he's going to tear me to pieces. He's going to maul me. He's going to devour me. You, he says, voice deep, almost too low to hear. How the fuck do you smell like this? Less than 10 minutes later, he slips a ring around my finger, and we swear to love each other till the day we die. Chapter 1. It's been storming for 3 days straight when he finally returns from a meeting with the leader of the Big Bend huddle. 2 of his seconds are already inside his home, waiting for him with wary expressions. The vampire woman, she backed out. He grunts as he wipes his face. Smart of her, he thinks. But they found a replacement, Cal adds, sliding a manila folder on the counter. Everything S in here. They want to know if she has your approval. We proceed as planned. Cal huffs out a laugh. Floor frowns. Don't you want to look at the... No, this changes nothing. They're all the same, anyway. 6 weeks before the ceremony. She shows up at the startup where I work on an early Thursday evening, when the sun has already set, and the entire bullpen is contemplating grievous bodily harm. Against me. I doubt I deserve this level of hatred, but I do understand it. And that's why I don't make a fuss when I return to my desk following a brief meeting with my manager and notice the state of my stapler. Honestly, it's fine. I work from home 90% of the time and rarely print anything. Who cares if someone smeared bird shit on it? Don't take it personally, Missy. Pierce leans against our cubicle divider. His smile is less concerned friend, more smarmy used car salesman. Even his blood smells oily. I won't. Other people's approval is a powerful drug. Lucky me, I never got the chance to develop an addiction. If there's something I'm good at, it's rationalizing my peers' contempt toward me. I've been training like piano prodigies, tirelessly and since early childhood. No need to sweat it. I'm not. Literally, I barely own the necessary glands. And don't listen to Walker. He didn't say what you think he did. Pretty sure it was nasty bitch, and not tasty peach that he yelled across the conference room, but who knows? It comes with the territory. You'd be mad, too, if someone did a penetration test against a firewall you've been working on for weeks and breached it in, 1 hour? It was maybe a third of that, even counting the break I took in the middle after realizing how quickly I was blowing through the system. I spent it online shopping for a new hamper, since Serena's damn cat seems to be asleep in my old one whenever I need to do laundry. I texted her a picture of the receipt, followed by "You and your cat owe me $16. Then I sat and waited for a reply, like I always do. It didn't come, nor had I expected it would. People will get over it, he pierces on. And hey, you never bring lunch, so no need to worry someone'll spit in your Tupperware. He bursts into laughter. I turn to my computer monitor, hoping he'll peace out. Boy, am I wrong. And to be honest, it's kind of on you if you tried to mingle more. Personally, I get your loner, mysterious, quiet vibe. But some read you as aloof, like you think you're better than us, if you made an effort to. Misery. When I hear my name called, the real one, for a split, exceptionally dumb second, I experience relief that this conversation is going to be over. Then I crane my neck and notice the woman standing on the other side of the divider. Her face is distantly familiar, and so is the black hair, but it's not until I focus on her heartbeat that I manage to place her. It's slow like only a vampire's can be, and... well, shit. Vania. You're hard to find, she tells me, voice melodic and low. I briefly contemplate slamming my head against the keyboard, then settle for replying calmly. That's by design. I figured. I massage my temple. What a day, what a fucking day. And yet here you are. And yet here I am. Why, hello. Pierce's smile gets a notch slimier as he turns to leer at Vania. His eyes start at her high heels, travel up the straight lines of her dark pantsuit, stop on her full breasts. I don't read minds, but he's thinking MILF so hard, I can practically hear it. Are you a friend of Missy S? You could say that, yes, since she was a child. Oh my God, do tell, how was baby Missy? The corner of Vania's lips twitches. She was odd and difficult, if often useful. Wait, are you two related? No, I'm her father's right hand, head of his guard, she says, looking at me, and she has been summoned. I straighten in my chair. Where? The nest. This is not rare. It's unprecedented. Excluding sporadic phone calls and even more sporadic meetings with Owen, I haven't spoken with another vampire in years, because no one has reached out. I should tell Vania to fuck off. I'm no longer a child stuck on a fool's errand. Going back to my father with any expectations that he and the rest of my people won't be total assholes is an exercise in futility, and I'm well aware of it. But apparently this half-assed overture is making me forget, because I hear myself asking, why? You'll have to come and find out. Vania's smile doesn't reach her eyes. I squint, like the answer is tattooed on her face. Meanwhile, Pierce reminds us of his unfortunate existence. Lady's right hand, summon, he laughs, loud and grating. I want to flick his forehead and make him hurt, but I'm starting to feel a frisson of worry for this fool. Are you guys into LARPing or? He finally shuts up, because when Vania turns to him, no trick of the light could hide the purple hue of her eyes, nor her long, perfectly white fangs gleaming under the electric lights. Why you? Pierce looks between us for several seconds, muttering something incoherent. And that's when Vania decides to ruin my life and snap her teeth at him. I sigh, pinching the bridge of my nose. Pierce spins on his heels and sprints past my cubicle, running over a potted Benjamin fig. Vampire, vampire, there's a vampire is attacking us. Someone call the bureau, someone call the... Vania takes out a laminated card with the Human Vampire Relations Bureau logo, one that grants her diplomatic immunity in human territory. But there's no one to look at it. The bullpen has erupted into a small panic, and most of my coworkers are screaming, already halfway down the emergency stairs. People trample each other to get to the nearest exit. I see Walker dart out of the bathroom, a strip of toilet paper dangling from his khakis, and feel my shoulders slump. I liked this job, I tell Vania, grabbing the framed Polaroid of me and Serena and resignedly stuffing it into my bag. It was easy. They bought my circadian rhythm disorder excuse and let me come in at night. My apologies, she says, unapologetic. Come with me. I should tell her to fuck off, and I will. In the meantime, I give in to my curiosity and follow her, straightening the poor Benjamin fig on my way out. The nest is still the tallest building in the north of the city, and perhaps the most distinctive. A blood-red podium that stretches underground for hundreds of feet, topped by a mirror skyscraper that comes alive around sunset and slides back to sleep in the early hours of the morning. I brought Serena here once, when she asked to see what the heart of the vampire territory was like, and she stared open-mouthed, jarred by the sleek lines and ultramodern design. She'd been expecting candelabras and heavy velvet drapes to block the murderous sun, and the corpses of our enemies hanging from the ceiling, blood milked from their veins to the very last drop. Bat artwork, in honor of our winged chiropterous forefathers. Coffins just because. It's nice. I just thought it'd be more metal, she mused, not at all intimidated at the idea of being the only human in an elevator full of vampires. The memory still makes me smile years later. Flexible spaces, automated systems, integrated tools, that's what the nest is. Not just the crown jewel of our territory, but also the center of our community. A place for shops and offices and errands, where anything one of us could need, from non-urgent healthcare to a zoning permit to 5 liters of OB positive, can be easily obtained. And then, in the uppermost floors, the builders made room for some private quarters, some of which have been purchased by the most influential families in our society. Mostly my family. Follow me, Vania says when the doors swish open, and I do, flanked by 2 uniformed council guards who are most definitely not here to protect me. A bit offensive that I'm being treated like an intruder in the place where I was born, especially as we walk parallel to a wall that's plastered with portraits of my ancestors. They morph over the centuries, from oils to acrylics to photographs, gray to Kodachrome to digital. What stays the same are the expressions, distant, arrogant, and frankly unhappy. Not a healthy thing, power. The only Lark I recognize from personal experience is the one closest to Father's office. My grandfather was already old and a little demented by the time Owen and I were born, and my most vivid memory of him is from that one time I woke up in the middle of the night to find him in my bedroom, pointing at me with trembling hands and yelling in the tongue, something about me being destined for a grisly death. In fairness, he wasn't wrong. In here, Vania says with a soft knock to the door. The councilman is waiting for you. I scan her face. Vampires are not immortal. We grow old the same as every other species, but, damn, she looks like she hasn't aged a day since she escorted me to the collateral exchange ceremony. 17 years ago. Is there something you need? No, I turn and reach for the doorknob, hesitate. Is he sick? Vania seems amused. You think he'd call you here for that? I shrug. I can't think of a single other reason he'd want to see me. For what? To commiserate? Or find solace in your filial affection? You have been among the humans far too long. I was thinking more along the lines of him needing a kidney. We are vampires, Misery. We act for the good of the most, or not at all. She's gone before I can roll my eyes, or serve her that fuck off I've been meaning to. I sigh, glance at the stone-faced guards she left behind, and then walk into my father's office. The first things I notice are the 2 walls of windows, which is exactly what Father wants. Every human I've talked with assumes that vampires hate light and relish darkness, but they couldn't be more wrong. The sun may be forbidden to us, toxic always and deathly in large quantities, but that's precisely why we covet it with such intensity. Windows are a luxury, because they need to be treated with absurdly expensive materials that filter everything that might harm us. And windows this large are the most bombastic of status symbols, in a full display of dynastic power and obscene wealth. And beyond them, the river that slices the city into north and south, us and them. Only a few hundred feet separate the nest from our territory, but the riverbank is littered with outlook towers, checkpoints, and guard posts, heavily monitored 24/7. A single bridge exists, but access to it is closely surveilled in both directions, and as far as I know, no vehicle has traveled across it since well before I was born. Past that, there are a few security areas and the deep green of an oak forest that stretches south for miles. I always thought it smart of them not to build civilian settlements next to one of the most sanguinary borders in the Southwest. When Owen and I were children, before I was sent away, Father walked in on us wondering why the Vampyre headquarters had been placed so close to our most lethal enemies. To remember, he explained, and to remind. I don't know. 20 years later, it still seems pretty fucked up to me. Misery. Father finishes tapping at the touch screen monitor and stands from his luxury mahogany desk, unsmiling but not cold. It's good to see you here again. It sure is something. The past few years have been kind to Henry Lark. I examine his tall frame, triangular face, and wide-set eyes, and I'm reminded of how much I take after him. His blonde hair is a little grayer, but still perfectly slicked back. I've never seen it anything but, never seen Father less than impeccably put together. Tonight the sleeves of his white button-down may be rolled back, but meticulously so. If they're meant to trick me into thinking that this is a casual meeting, they've failed. And that's why, when he points at the leather chair in front of his desk and says, "Sit," I decide to lean back against the door. Vania says you're not dying. I'm aiming for rude. Unfortunately, I think I just sound curious. I trust that you're healthy, too, he smiles faintly. How have the last 7 years treated you? There is a beautiful vintage clock behind his head. I watch it tick 8 seconds before saying, "Just peachy." Yes, he gives me a once-over. You'd better remove them, Misery. Someone might mistake you for a human. He's referring to my brown contacts, which I considered taking out in the car before deciding not to bother. The problem is, there are many other signs that I've been living among the humans, most not so quickly reversible. The fangs I shave to dull points every week, for instance, are unlikely to escape his notice. I was at work. Ah, yes. Vania mentioned you have a job, something with computers knowing you. Something like that. He nods. And how is your little friend? Once again safe and sound, I trust. I stiffen. How do you know she? Oh, Misery. You didn't really think that your communications with Owen went unmonitored, did you? I clench my fists behind my back and seriously debate slamming the door behind me and returning home. But there must be a reason he brought me here, and I need to know it. So I take my phone out of my pocket, and once I'm sitting across from Father, I lay it face up on his desk. I tap on the timer app, set it for exactly 10 minutes, and turn it toward him. Then I lean back in the chair. Why am I here? It's been years since I last saw my only daughter. He presses his lips together. Is that not enough reason? 9 minutes and 43 seconds left. Misery, my child. The tongue. Why are you angry at me? I lift my eyebrow. You should not feel anger, but pride. The right choice is the one that ensures happiness for the largest number of people, and you were the means to that choice. I study him calmly. I'm positive that he really does believe this bullshit, that he thinks he's a good guy. 9 minutes and 22 seconds. He looks briefly, genuinely sad. Then he says there is to be a wedding. I jerk my head back. A wedding, as in, like the humans do. A marriage ceremony, like the vampires used to have. Whose? Yours? Are you going too? I don't bother finishing the sentence. The sheer thought is ludicrous. It's not just weddings that have gone out of fashion hundreds of years ago, but the entire idea of long-term relationships. As it turns out, when your species sucks at producing children, encouraging sexual walkabouts and the search for reproductively compatible partners takes precedence over romance. I doubt vampires were ever particularly romantic anyway. Whose? Father sighs, yet to be decided. I don't like this, not any of it, but I'm not sure why yet. Something prickles in my ear, a whisper that I should get the hell out now, but as I'm about to stand, Father says, "Since you chose to live among the humans, you must have been following their news." Some of it, I lie. We could be at war with Eurasia and on the verge of cloning unicorns, and I'd have no clue. I've been busy, searching, scouring. Why? The humans recently had an election. I had no idea, but I nod. Wonder what that's like. A leadership structure that's not an unattainable council whose membership is restricted to a handful of families, passed down from generation to generation like a chipped china set. Not ideal, as Arthur Davenport was not reelected. Governor Davenport? The city is divided between the local Werewolf and the Vampyres, but the rest of the southwest region is almost exclusively human. And for the last few decades, they've chosen Arthur Davenport to represent them, as far as I can recall, with little hesitation. That jerk. Who's the new guy? A woman. Maddie Garcia is the governor-elect, and her term will start in a few months. And your take on her? He must have won. Father's collaboration with Governor Davenport is the driving force behind the amicable relationship between our two people. Well, amicable might be too strong of a word. The average human still thinks that we're gagging to suck their cattle dry and mind scramble their loved ones. The average vampire still thinks that humans are cunning but feckless, and that their main talent is for procreating and filling the universe with more humans. It's not like our species hang out, aside from very limited, highly artificial diplomatic events. But we haven't been overtly murdering each other in cold blood for a while, and we're allies against the Wers. A win is a win, right? I have no opinion, he tells me, impassible. Nor will I have the opportunity to form one soon, as Ms. Garcia has refused all my requests for meetings. Ms. Garcia must be wiser than I am. However, I am still tasked with guaranteeing the safety of my people. And once Governor Davenport is gone, in addition to the threat that we constantly face at the southern border, there might be one at the north, from the humans. I doubt she wants trouble, Father. I pick at my nail polish. She'll probably just leave the current alliance as it is and cut down on the ceremonial bullshit. Her team has informed us that as soon as she takes office, the collateral program will be no more. I freeze and then slowly look up. What? We have been formally asked to return the human collateral, and they will send back the girl who's currently serving as the vampire collateral. Boy, I correct him automatically. My fingertips feel numb. The current vampire collateral is a boy. I met him once. He had dark hair and a constant frown and said no, thank you, when I asked if he needed help carrying a stack of books. By now, he might very well be as tall as me. Whatever it might be, the return will happen next week. The humans have decided not to wait for Maddie Garcia to take office. I don't see. I swallow, gather myself. It's for the best. It's a stupid practice. It has been ensuring peace between the vampires and the humans for over 100 years. Seems a little cruel to me, I counter calmly. Asking an 8-year-old to relocate alone inside enemy territory to play hostage. Hostage is such a crude, simplistic word. You hold a human child as a deterrent for 10 years, with the mutual understanding that if the humans violate the terms of our alliance, the vampires will instantly murder the child. That seems crude and simplistic, too. Father's eyes narrow. It's not unilateral. His voice grows harder. The humans hold a vampire child for the same reason. I know, Father. I lean forward. I was the previous vampire collateral, in case you have forgotten. I wouldn't put it past him, but no. He might not recall the way I tried to hold his hand as the armored sedan drove us north, or me trying to hide behind Vania's thigh when I first got a glimpse of the humans' oddly colored eyes. He might not know how it felt, growing up with the knowledge that if the ceasefire between us and the humans broke down, the same caregivers who'd taught me how to ride a bike would come into my room and drive a knife through my heart. He might not dwell on the fact that he sent his daughter to be the 11th collateral, 10 years a prisoner among people who hated her kind. But he does remember. Because the first rule of the collateral, of course, is that they have to be closely tied to those in power, those who make decisions concerning peace and war. And if Maddie Garcia doesn't want to throw a member of her family under the bus in the name of public safety, that only makes me respect her more. The boy who took over when I turned 18 is the grandson of Councilwoman Ewing. and when I served as the vampire collateral, my human counterpart was the grandson of Governor Davenport. I used to wonder if he felt like I did, sometimes angry, sometimes resigned, mostly expendable. I'd sure love to know if, now that years have passed, he gets along with his family better than I do with mine. Alexandra Bowden, do you remember her? Father's tone is back to conversational. You were born the same year. I sit back in my chair, unsurprised by the abrupt change of topic. Red hair. He nods. A little more than a week ago, her little brother, Abel, turned 15. That night, he and 3 friends were out partying and found themselves near the river. Emboldened by their youth and feeble-mindedness, they challenged each other to swim across it, touch the riverbank that belongs to our territory, and then swim back. A show of bravery, if you will. I'm not invested in the fate of Alexandra Bowden's bratty brother, but my body goes icy cold nonetheless. All vampire children are taught about the danger of the southern border. We all learn where our territory ends and the wurs begins before we can speak, and we all know not to mess with anything wur. Except for these 4 idiots, clearly. They're dead, I murmur. Father's lips curl up in something that looks very little like compassion and a lot like annoyance. It's what they deserved, in my frank opinion. Of course, when the boys couldn't be found, the worst was assumed. Ansel Bowden, the boy's father, has strong ties to several council families and petitioned for a retaliatory act. He argued that their disappearance would justify it. He was reminded that the good of our people as a whole comes before the good of the one, the basic principle vampire society relies on. Birth rates are at our lowest, and we are facing extinction. This is not the time to stoke conflict, and yet, in an unbecoming display of weakness, he continued to beg. Disgusting. How dare he grieve for his son? Father gives me a scathing look. Because of his relationship to the council, he came close to having his way. Just last week, while you were busy pretending to be human, we were closer to an interspecies war than we've been in a century. And then, 2 days after their dull-witted stunt, Father stands. He walks around the desk and then leans back against its edge, the picture of relaxation. The boys reappeared, intact. I blink, a habit I picked up while pretending to be human. They're corpses. They are alive, shaken, of course. They were interrogated by our guards, treated as spies at first, and then as unruly nuisances. But they were eventually returned home, whole and healthy. How? I can think of 6 incidents in the past 20 years in which borders were breached, and whatever was left of the offenders got sent back in pieces. It mostly happens outside city limits, in the demilitarized woodlands. Regardless, wurs have been merciless to our people, and we have been merciless toward wurs. Which means that, what changed? An intelligent question. You see, most of the council assumed that Roscoe was growing tender in his old age. Roscoe, the alpha of the Southwest Pack. I've heard Father talk about him ever since I was a child. But I've met Roscoe once. Just once, he was always clear about his disinterest in diplomacy, and people like him are like skull bones. They only harden with time. He turns toward the window. The wurs are as secretive as ever about their society, but we do have some ways to obtain intel, and after sending over some inquiries, there was a change in their leadership structure. Very good. He seems pleased, as though I'm a student who mastered the transitive property well ahead of expectations. Maybe I should have chosen you as my successor. Owen has shown little commitment to the role. He appears to be more interested in socializing. I wave my hand. I'm sure that when you announce your retirement, he'll stop carousing around with his councilman heir friends and become the perfect vampire politician you always dreamt he'd be. Not. The wurs. What kind of change? It appears that a few months ago someone challenged Roscoe. Challenged. Their succession of power is not particularly sophisticated. Wurs are most closely related to dogs, after all. Suffice to say, Roscoe is dead. I refrain from pointing out that our dynastic, hereditary oligarchies seem even more primitive, and that dogs are universally beloved. Have you met them? The new Alpha. After the boys were returned safely, I requested a meeting with him. To my surprise, he accepted. He did. I hate that I'm invested. And I was curious, you see. Mercy isn't always a sign of weakness, but it can be. His eyes take a sudden faraway bent, then slide to a piece of art on the eastern wall. A simple canvas painted a deep purple to commemorate the blood spilled during the Astor. Similar art can be found in most public spaces. And betrayal is born of weakness, Misery. Is it now? Always thought betrayal was just betrayal, but what do I know? He is not weak, the new Alpha. On the contrary, he is. Father pulls back into himself. Something else, something new. His eyes settle on me, waiting, patient, and I shake my head because I cannot imagine what reason he might have to tell me all of this, where I could possibly come into play. Until something worms its way through the back of my head. Why did you mention a wedding? I ask, without bothering to hide the suspicion in my voice. Father nods. I think I must have asked the right question, especially because he doesn't answer it. You grew up among the humans and did not have the advantage of a vampire education, so you may not know the full history of our conflict with the Wers. Yes, we have been at odds for centuries, but attempts at dialogue were made. There have been 5 interspecies marriages between us and the Wers, during which no border skirmishes were recorded, nor vampire deaths at the hands of Wers. The last was 200 years ago, a 15-year marriage between a vampire and his bride. When she died, another union was arranged, one that did not end well. The Astor. The Astor, yes. The 6th wedding ceremony ended in carnage when the Wers attacked the vampires, who, after decades of peace, had become a little too trusting and made the mistake of showing up to a wedding mostly unarmed. Between the Wers' superior strength and the element of surprise, it was a bloodbath, mostly ours. Purple with a sprinkling of green, just like an Astor. We don't know why the Wers decided to turn on us, but ever since our relationship with them irreparably broke down, there has been one constant. We had an alliance with the humans, and the Wers did not. There are 10 Wers for every vampire, and hundreds of humans for both our species combined. Yes, humans may lack vampires' talents or Wers' speed and strength, but there is power in numbers. Having them on our side was reassuring. Father's jaw clenches. Then, after a long time, relaxes. Certainly, you can see why Maddie Garcia's refusal to meet with me is a concern, even more so because of her relative warmth toward the Wers. My eyes widen. I may be a bit checked out of the human cultural landscape, but I didn't think diplomatic relationships with the Wers would be on their statecraft bucket list for the year. As far as I know, they've always ignored each other, not too difficult since they don't share important borders. The humans and the Wers, in diplomatic talks. Correct. I remain skeptical. Did the Alpha tell you this when you met? No, this is intel we obtained separately. The Alpha told me other things. Such as? He is young, you see, around your age and built of a different stock. As savage as Roscoe, perhaps, but more open-minded. He believes that peace in the region is possible, that alliances among all 3 species should be cultivated. I snort out a laugh. Good luck with that. Father's head tilts to the side, and his eyes zero in on me, assessing. You know why I chose you to be the collateral, and not your brother. Oh no, not this conversation. Tossed a coin. You were such a peculiar child, Misery. Always uninterested in what went on around you, locked in a vault inside your head, hard to reach. Withdrawn. The other children would try to become your friends, and you'd stubbornly leave them hanging. The other children knew that I'd be the one sent to the humans, and they started calling me fangless traitor as soon as they could form full sentences. Or have you forgotten when I was 7, and the sons and daughters of your fellow councilmen stole my clothes and pushed me out in the sun right before midday? And those same people spat on me and mocked me when I returned from 10 years serving as their collateral, so I'm not. I exhale slowly and remind myself that this is fine. I am fine, untouchable. I'm 25 and I have my fake human IDs, my apartment, my cat. Fuck you, Serena. Okay, I probably don't have a job right now, but I'll find another soon with 100% fewer Pierces. I have friends, a friend, probably. Above all, I've taught myself not to care. About anything. The wedding you mentioned, whose is it? Father presses his lips together. Several moments tick by before he speaks again. When a whir and a vampire stand in front of each other, all they see is the Astor. I glance down at my phone, impatient. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. They see a wedding between a vampire and an alpha that was supposed to broker peace, but ended in death. The whirs are animals, and always will be, but we are on the road to extinction, and the good of the most must be considered. If we let the humans and whirs form an alliance that excludes us, they could completely wipe us out. Oh my God! It suddenly dawns on me, the crazy, ridiculous place where he's heading, and I cover my eyes. You are joking, right? Misery. No, I let out a laugh. Father, we cannot marry our way out of this war. I don't know why I've switched to the tongue, but it takes him aback. And maybe that's good, maybe this is what he needs. A moment to think this madness through. Who would agree to this? Father looks at me so pointedly. I know. I just know. And I burst into laughter. I only ever laughed out loud with Serena, which means that it must have been well over a month since I last did it. My brain nearly hiccups, startled at these newfangled, mysterious sounds my voice box is producing. Did you drink rotten blood? Because you're unhinged. What I am is charged with ensuring the good of the most, and the good of the most is the furthering of our people. He seems somewhat offended by my reaction, but I cannot help the laughter bubbling in my throat. It would be a job, Misery, compensated. This is God, this is funny, and mental. No amount of legal tender would convince me to, is it $10 billion? No. Well, no lower amount of legal tender would convince me to marry a whir. Financially, you will be set for life. You know the council's pockets are deep, and there is no expectation of a real marriage. You'd be with him in name only. You'll be in Were territory for a single year, which will send the message that vampires can be safe with whirs. Vampires cannot. I shoot to my feet and begin pacing away from him, massaging my temple. Why are you asking me? I cannot be your first choice. You aren't, he says flatly. He has plenty of faults, but lack of honesty was never among them. Nor our second. The council is in agreement that we must act, and several members have offered their relatives. Originally, Councilman Essen's daughter agreed, but she had a change of heart. Oh God, I stop pacing. You're treating this as a collateral exchange. Of course, and so are the whirs. The Alpha will send a whir to us, someone important to him. She will be with us for as long as you are with him, ensuring your reciprocal safety. Bonkers. This is absolutely bonkers. I take a grounding breath. Well, think everyone involved has lost their mind, and whoever shows up to that wedding is going to get slaughtered, and I cannot believe your sheer presumption in asking this of me. I'm honored that you eventually thought of me, but no, thanks. Misery. I walk to the desk to pick up my phone. 1 minute, 13 seconds left, and for a brief moment I'm so close to Father, I feel the rhythm of his blood in my bones. Slow, steady, painfully familiar. Heartbeats are like fingerprints, one of a kind, distinctive, the easiest way to tell people apart. Father's was pressed into my flesh on the day I was born, when he was the first person to hold me, the first person to care for me, the first person to know me. And then he washed his hands of me. No, I say to him, to myself. Roscoe's death is an opportunity. Roscoe's death was murder, I point out evenly, by the hand of the man you'd have me marry. You know how many vampire children were born this year in the Southwest? I don't care. Fewer than 300. If the whirs and the humans join forces to take our land from us, they will wipe us out. Completely. The good of the most. Is a cause I've already donated to, and no one is showing me much gratitude. I meet his eyes squarely, slide my phone into my pocket with determination. I've done enough. I have a life and I'm going back to it. Do you? I stop halfway through turning around. Excuse me. Do you have a life, Misery? He looks at me when he says it, pointed, careful, like he's pushing a sharp weapon a mere millimeter into my neck. I need you to care about one single fucking thing. Misery. One thing that's not me. I push the memory away and swallow. Good luck finding someone else. You feel unwelcome among your people. This could rehabilitate you in their eyes. A frisson of anger runs through my spine. I think I'll hold off on that, Father, at least until they have rehabilitated themselves in mine. I take a few steps backward, cheerfully waving my hand. I'm leaving. My 10 minutes aren't up yet. My phone chooses that very moment to beep. Exquisite timing. I flash him a smile. If my blunt fangs bother him, that's his problem. I can safely say that no amount of time will change the outcome of this conversation. Misery. A pleading edge is creeping into his tone, which is almost entertaining. Too bad, so sad. See you in 7 years, or when you decide that the key to peace is a joint Vampyre MLM scheme and try to sell me dietary supplements. Do a Vania fetch me at home, though. I do not look forward to reorganizing my resume. I turn around to find the doorknob. There won't be another opportunity in 7 years. Misery. I roll my eyes and open the door. Goodbye, Father. Moreland is the first alpha who. I slam the door shut without first walking out of the office and turn around, back toward Father. My heart slows to a crawl and thuds in my chest. What did you just say? He straightens up from the desk, full of confusion and something that could be hope. No other were Alpha. The name, you said a name, who? Moreland, he repeats. His full name, what's his first name? Father's eyes narrow suspiciously, but after a few seconds he says, Lowe Moreland. I look down at the floor, which appears to be shaking, then at the ceiling. I take a series of deep breaths, each one slower than the other, and then run a trembling hand through my hair, even though my arm weighs 1,000 pounds. I wonder if the blue dress I wore at Serena's college graduation would be too casual for an interspecies wedding ceremony. Because, yeah, I guess I'm getting married. Chapter 2. He used to think that all vampires' eyes looked the same. He may have been wrong about that. Present day. Such an unfortunate, desolate choice. What loving parent would choose to name their child Misery? I don't consider myself a sensitive person. As a rule, I'm not opposed to people implying that I am a disappointment to my family and my species. But I do ask for one thing, that they keep that shit away from me. And yet, here I am, with Governor Davenport, leaning on my elbows over the balcony that overlooks the courtyard where I just got married, biting back a sigh before explaining. The council. Pardon. Gauging intoxication levels in humans is always a struggle, but I'm fairly sure the governor is not drunk. You asked who gave me my name. It was the Vampire Council. Not your parents. I shake my head. That's not how it works. Are there magic rituals involved, sacrificial altars, seers? So self-centeredly human, the assumption that everything that's other must be shrouded in the supernatural and the arcane. They nurse their myths and legends, in which vampires and wers are creatures of magic and lore, capable of curses and mystical acts. They think us able to see the future, to fly, to make ourselves invisible. Because we're different from them, our existence must be governed by otherworldly forces, and not simply, like theirs, by biology. And maybe a couple of thermodynamics laws. Serena was like that too, when I first met her. So crucifixes burn you? She asked me a couple of weeks into our cohabitation, after I failed to convince her that the viscous red liquid I kept in my fridge was tomato juice. Only if they're, very hot. But you guys do hate garlic. I shrugged. We don't really eat food in general, so, sure. And how many people have you killed? 0, I told her, appalled. How many people have you killed? Hey, I'm human. Humans kill all the time. Yeah, but indirectly. By making health insurance too expensive or stubbornly opposing gun control. You guys suck people dry to survive. I scoffed. Drinking directly from a person is kinda gross and no one ever does it. It was a bit of a lie, but at the time I wasn't sure why. All I knew was that a few years earlier Owen and I had walked into the library to find Father latched onto the neck of Councilwoman Salamio. Owen, who'd been more precocious and less of a social pariah, had covered my eyes with his hand and insisted that the trauma would stunt our growth. He never explained the reason, though. Plus, blood banks are right there, so that we don't need to hurt humans. I wondered if it had more to do with the fact that killing someone would be a lot of exhausting work, what with the thrashing around, and the burying of the corpse, and the human police potentially showing up in the middle of the day, when all we want is to crawl into a dark space. What about the invitation business? The what? You need to be invited into a room, right? I shook my head, hating that she looked disappointed. She was funny and direct, and a little odd in a way that made her at once awesome and approachable. I was 10, and I already liked her more than anyone I'd ever met. Can you at least read my mind? What am I thinking about? I scratched my nose. That book you like with the witches. Not fair, I'm always thinking about that book. What number am I thinking? 7. She gasped. Misery. Did I get it right? Holy crap. No, I was thinking of 356. What else is a lie? The thing is, humans and wers and vampires might be different species, but we're closely related. What sets us apart has less to do with the occult, and more with spontaneous genetic mutations thousands of years down the line. And of course, the values we developed in response. A loss of a purine base here, a repositioning of a hydrogen atom there, and ta-da. Vampires feed exclusively on blood, are wimps with the sun, and are constantly on edge about extinction. Wers are faster, stronger, I assume hairier, and they worship violence. But neither of us can whip out our magic wand and lift a 60-pound suitcase on top of a rack, or find out the Powerball numbers in advance, or turn into bats. At least, vampires don't. I don't know enough about the wers to get offended on their behalf. No naming rituals, I tell the governor. Just a busybody council. No one wants 5 Madisons in the same class. I hold for a beat. Plus, it seemed fitting since I did kill my mother. He hesitates, unsure how to react, and then lets out a nervous laugh. Well, still as a name it's very. He looks around, as if grasping for the perfect word. Oh, fine. Miserable. He finger guns at me, and I shiver. Either because I hate him, or because it's starting to get way too cold for my vampire needs and my lace jumpsuit. The gathering can only be defined as a party with lots of generosity. About 1 hour in, I decided that I had finally had enough. If my husband, who was on the edge of murdering me at our altar of connubial bliss because I stink, could be off somewhere discussing important matters with my father, I too could sneak away. I made my way up to the mezzanine balcony to be alone. Unfortunately, the governor had the same idea and brought along a watering can's worth of alcohol. He decided to join me, heartbreaking, and seems intent on making conversation. A fucking cataclysm. His eyes keep straying to Maddie Garcia's table, as though he's trying to incinerate her ahead of her inauguration next month. I should probably join him in his resentment toward the human governor-elect, since her choices are what made this sham of a marriage necessary, but I cannot help admiring the way she has been expertly avoiding my father. She's definitely a smart woman, unlike the bumbling idiot next to me. It's very brave what you're doing, Miss Lark, he tells me, patting my shoulder. He must have misplaced the memo, vampires don't touch. Very brave in the face of great danger. The reception is going as cartoonishly poorly as expected. Wers and vampires are seated at tables on opposite sides of the hall, exchanging hostile looks, while the most unappreciated viola player in the world spends some quality time with Rachmaninoff. The Wers and the few human guests have been served food prepared by a world-renowned chef, and make a valiant attempt at eating it despite the ugly atmosphere. Revolting! I overheard the daughter of Councilman Ross say in the tongue as I slunk up here. Unsocialized beasts. They feed in public, shit in public, fuck in public. I refrained from pointing out that it's called eating, and that the last two are illegal in the human world. I'm just glad I managed to explain to the planner that one doesn't sip blood at a party, that feeding is a private act for vampires, never communal or recreational, and that no, serving blood cocktails with little umbrellas in them was not a fun idea. When she asked, "What will the vampires do while the Wers eat?" I guessed glare at them. Boy, was I right. Especially brave you are. The governor takes another swig. What an interesting life you have led. A vampire raised among humans, the famous collateral. The Wers, it seems to me, have two reasons to hate you. I distractedly run my tongue over my regrown fangs, wondering if a fight will break out. The hatred in the room is thick, suffocating. The human guards, too, sharkle around, a little too eager to strike, curb, defend. A gust of wind could make this coiling tension snap. Then again, Moreland gave up a lot for this arrangement. The collateral they're sending. The councilman's daughter for the Alpha's mate. Sounds like poetry, right? My head whips around. The governor's eyes are glazed. The Alpha S what? Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned her. It's a secret, of course, but... He chuckles deep in his throat and tips his glass at me. Did you say mate, like a spouse? I'm not at liberty to divulge, Miss Lark. Or should I say, Mrs. Moreland? Shit, I mutter softly, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Was Moreland married before? If that's the case, I cannot comprehend how pissed he must be at the prospect of being shackled to me while his wife is far away, first in line to the slaughter. Maybe that's why he flipped earlier. That, and how I apparently smell like rotten eggs. Well, tough shit, I tell myself as I push away from the railing. He and father are the masterminds of this marriage. I am the masterminded. Hopefully he'll remember that and not direct his anger at me. A pleasure chatting with you, Governor, I lie, waving goodbye. If you decide to change it, call my office. He makes the phone hand gesture, the one old people use. I can speed up the paperwork. Excuse me. The name. Ah, yes, thank you. I head downstairs, in search of Owen. I think I saw him deep in conversation with Councilman Cintron earlier, gossiping, which he can do like a pro. I bet he can find out more about this mate business. Chances are, he already knew but didn't say anything because he found the thought of this poor woman jumping up in the middle of the ceremony to object hilarious, and wanted to see a rabid wolf eat my pancreas for being a homewrecker in front of the upper crust of vampire society. Never heard of anything like it. I halt abruptly because... My husband is here, at the bottom of the stairs. He got rid of his jacket, and the sleeves of his white shirt are rolled up. Two people stand with him, a Wer with a ginger beard, the best man, if I'm not mistaken, and another older, gray-haired with a deep white scar on his neck. Their expressions are somber, and Moreland's arms are crossed on his chest. It's a scene I've come across before with my father, a powerful man, hearing important information from people he trusts. The last thing I want is to walk past them right now, in close competition with the second to last, reprising my conversation with the governor. Still, I'm ready to go back and hear more about the failures of my given name until... The consequences, if it really is her, the best man continues. It's the her that stops me in my tracks, because it feels like it might be referring to. Moreland presses his lips together. His jaw clenches and he says something, but his voice is deeper, lower than his companion's. I cannot make out the words over the background noises. It must have been a moment of confusion. She cannot be your... The string music suddenly soars, and I inch closer, just one step down the stairs. Lowe's broad back stiffens. I'm afraid he heard me move, but he doesn't turn. I relax when he says, "You think it's a mistake I would make." The older man freezes, then hangs his head apologetic. I do not, Alpha. We need to change our plans, Lowe, the ginger. Find other accommodations. You shouldn't live with... A commotion erupts in the hall, and their heads lift in its direction. When I follow suit, my stomach drops. A short distance away, two children are bawling. They are toddlers, one with dark skin and lilac eyes, the other pale and blue-eyed. A vampire and a Wer. Between them lies a dark blue superhero action figure, broken in two at the waist. And next to them, clutching their respective sons, are a vampire father and a Wer mother, who, for reasons I cannot divine, thought that bringing children here would be a good idea, and now are showing their fangs at each other, growling, drawing the attention of the other guests, who start to gather around them protectively, or maybe aggressively. The music stops when the noise in the room rises to a panicked pitch. A small crowd surrounds the kids, and the human guards join it, drawing their weapons and bringing firearms into the mess. My heart thumps dully in my chest as the tension grows fat and sticky, the start of another massacre that will go down in the history books. Here, Lowe Moreland kneels between the children, and the room drops to a deafening silence. The vampire's father, whom I now recognize as Councilman Sexton, pushes his son behind his legs, upper lip peeled back to reveal his long canines. "It's all good," Moreland says, calm, reassuring, not to the father but to the child, as he holds out the intact action figure not broken after all. The boy hesitates. Then his hand darts out from between his father's knees to collect his toy, mouth widening into a toothy smile. Several of the guests exhale in relief. Not me, though. Not yet. "Anything you'd like to say?" Moreland asks, this time to the word child. The boy blinks several times before looking at the ground with a pout. "Sorry," he mumbles, the R's rounded into W's. He looks on the verge of crying, but then dissolves into laughter when Moreland ruffles his hair and picks him up, effortlessly wedging him under his arm like a football. He turns around, giving his back to the group of vampires assembled around the sextons, and returns the little Wer to his table. Just like that, the tension relaxes. Vampires and Wers return to their seats with a few lingering looks of distrust. The music resumes. My husband makes his way back to the bottom of the stairs without lifting his eyes or noticing me, and I finally let out the breath I was holding. "Make sure it doesn't happen again. Tell the others, too," he quietly orders the ginger and the older Wer, who nod and leave to mix with the guests. Moreland sighs, and I wait for a handful of seconds, hoping he'll join them and clear my way. 2 handfuls. What feels a lot like a minute. A minute and more handfuls. "I know you're there," he says, not looking at anyone in particular. I have no idea who he's addressing until he adds, "Come down, Miss Lark." Oh. Well. This is nicely mortifying. There are about 10 steps separating us, and I could crawl my way down in shame. But our species have been mortal enemies since electricity wasn't a thing, which might put us beyond embarrassment. What's some eavesdropping among foes? "In your own time," he adds wryly. Given the incident a couple of hours ago, I'm hesitant to go stand next to him, but perhaps I shouldn't have worried. When I reach his side, his nostrils twitch and a muscle jumps in his jaw, but that's about it. Moreland doesn't look my way, nor does he seem too tempted to mangle me. Progress. Still, I have no idea what to say. So far, we've only exchanged recited promises that neither of us means to keep, and some commentary on my body odor. "You can call me Misery." He's quiet for a beat. Yeah, I probably should. We fall into silence. In the far corner of the courtyard, what seems to be another small ruckus involving a Wer and Vampyre nearly pops up, but it's swiftly curbed by a Wer woman I vaguely remember standing by the altar. "Do we have another interspecies brawl?" I ask. Moreland shakes his head. "Just some idiot who drank too much." "Not from a Wer, I hope." I regret the words the second they're out of my mouth. I'm not usually a nervous blabberer, because I'm not usually nervous. One doesn't serve as the collateral for a decade without learning a baffling number of anxiety management strategies. And yet, "Did you just joke about your people drinking my people dry?" I close my eyes. Death would be nice right now. I'd welcome it with open arms. "It was in terrible taste. I apologize." I look up at him, and there they are. Those eerie, unearthly, beautiful eyes glowing at me in the dim lights, a chilling green that borders on feral. I wonder if I'll get used to them. If 1 year from now, when this arrangement is complete, I'll still think them bizarrely lovely. I wonder what Serena thought when she first saw them. "They're expecting us," Moreland says curtly. My apology dangles, not accepted, not rejected. "Who?" He points at the orchestra. The viola player lifts her bow in the air for a beat, and then the music switches gears. Not Rachmaninoff, but a slow, instrumental rendition of a pop song I've heard in line at the grocery store. Did Moreland approve of this? I bet the planner went rogue. "First dance," he says, holding out his hand. His voice is deep, precise, economical. a man who's used to giving orders and having them answered. I look at his long fingers, remembering how they closed on my arm. That moment of fear. Thing is, I don't feel a lot, and when I do. Misery, he says, a trace of impatience in his tone, and my name sounds like a different word in his voice. I take his hand, watch it engulf mine, follow him onto the dance floor. We had no photographer at the ceremony, but there are a couple here. When we reach the center of the hall, Moreland's palm splays on my back, where my jumpsuit dips low. His fingers briefly travel down my wrist, brushing against the marking, then wrap around mine. We start swaying to a peal of sparse, half-hearted applause. I have never slow danced before, but it's not too difficult. Perhaps because my partner is doing most of the work. So, I glance up, attempting conversation. In these shoes, I push 6 feet, but there's no towering over this man. I smell like sewers or something. It cannot be easy for him, being this close to me. He stiffens, then relaxes. I think he won't reply until his terse or something. I wish I could commiserate, but vampires don't comprehend sense the way other species do. Serena used to point at flowers and spin wild tales of beautiful fragrances, then act shocked that I couldn't tell them apart. But plants are insignificant to us, and I was just as shocked that she had no awareness of people's heartbeats, of the blood coursing through her own veins. It's a pity that I smell foul to Moreland, because his blood is nice, engulfing, healthy and earthy and a bit rough. His heartbeat is strong and vibrant, like a caress to the roof of my mouth. I don't think it's just a weird thing because the others here at the wedding seem less inviting, but maybe I just haven't gotten close enough to. Does your father hate you? Excuse me, we're still swaying. Cameras click around us like insects in the summertime. Maybe I misheard. Your father, I need to know if he hates you. I meet Moreland's eyes, more baffled than offended, and perhaps a little peeved that I cannot insist that my one living parent gives a shit about me. Why? If you're going to be under my protection, I need to know these things. I cock my head up at him. His face is so, not handsome even though it is, but striking, all-consuming, like he invented bone structure. Am I under your protection? You're my wife. God, it sounds weird. In name, maybe. I shrug, and it makes my body brush against his. His eyes do an odd thing, the pupils acting out, contracting and expanding of their own volition. Then they settle on the markings painted on my neck. He seems unwarrantedly taken by them. I think I'm just a symbol of goodwill between our people, and collateral. And being a collateral is your full-time job. I can't even counter that, since Vania got me fired. I dabble. He nods thoughtfully, turning me around. New couples are starting to join us, none looking enthused, likely marched to the dance floor by our zealous wedding planner. My eyes meet Deanna Dryden S. She held me down and stuffed my mouth with feathers when I was 7, disappeared from my life for 10 years, then called me a human fucker in front of a crowd of dozens when we next crossed paths. We nod at each other politely. Let's see, Misery. My name is pointed. At what, I'm not certain. You were formally announced as the collateral when you were 6, and then sent to the humans at 8. You had 24/7 protective detail, all human guards, and yet over the following decade, you suffered several assassination attempts by anti-vampire extremist groups. All failed, but 2 came very close, and I'm told you have the scars to prove it. Then, when your term as the collateral finally ended, you briefly returned to vampire territory, then chose to adopt a fake identity and live among the humans, something vampires are forbidden from doing. If you were a member of my own family, I would never have allowed any of it. And now you've signed up to marry a Wer, which is the most dangerous thing someone in your situation could do, with nothing to gain and no obvious reason. I'm flattered that you skimmed my file. I bat my eyes up at him. He does seem to have the whats and the wheres, if not the whys. I read yours, too. You're an architect by training, right? His body tenses, and he pushes me away no, he's just whirling me around to the music. Why is your father so remiss when it comes to your survival? His blood really does smell nice. I'm not some kind of victim, I say quietly. No. I agreed to this marriage. I'm not being forced into anything. And you. His arm snatches abruptly around my waist, and he pulls me closer to avoid another couple. My front plasters against him, his scorching heat a shock to my cool skin. He really is foreign, different, incompatible with me in every possible way. It's a relief when he puts some distance between us and we're again comfortably apart. The thought of him already being in a relationship flits into my head once more, intrusive and unprompted, and I have to track down my abandoned sentence. And you are putting yourself in the exact same situation. I'm the alpha of my people. His voice is hoarse. Not a white hat hacker who only miraculously made it to 25. Ouch and fuck you. What I am is an adult woman with agency and the tools to make choices. Feel free to, treat me accordingly. Fair, he hums agreeably. Why did you consent to this marriage, though? Have you ever heard the name Serena Paris? I nearly ask, but I already know the answer to that, and the question would only give him something to hide. I have a plan, a painstakingly drawn one, and I'm going to stick to it. I like to live dangerously. Or desperately. The music plays on, but Moreland halts, and so do I. We stare, a hint of challenge swirling between us. I'm sure I don't know what you mean. You do, he nods, like he wasn't going to say what's coming next but doesn't mind continuing. The vampires don't claim you as one of them unless they have something to gain from it. You chose to be among the humans, but you had to lie about your identity because you're not one of them, and you're definitely not one of us. You truly belong nowhere, Miss Lark. His head dips closer. For a terrible, head-splitting second, my heart pumps with the certainty that he's going to kiss me. But he bends past my mouth, to the shell of my ear. Through a landslide of what has to be relief, I hear him inhale and say, "And you smell like you know all of this very, very well." That hint of challenge solidifies, heavy as concrete, into something cities could be built on. Maybe you should stop breathing in so much, I say, pulling back to look him squarely in the eye. And then everything happens much too quickly. The glint of steel at the corner of my view. An unfamiliar, rage-filled voice yelling, "You vampire bitch!" Hundreds of gasps, and a sharp blade making its way toward my throat, my jugular, and... The knife stops a hairbreadth from my skin. I don't remember closing my eyes, and when I open them my brain cannot seem to catch up. Someone, a human, dressed as a waiter came at me with a knife. I did not notice him. The guards did not notice him. My husband, on the other hand. Lowe Moreland's palm is wrapped around the blade, less than an inch from my neck. Green blood trickles down his forearm, its rich scent crashing into me like a wave. There is no sign of pain in his eyes as they hold mine. He just saved my life. "Nowhere misery," he murmurs, lips barely moving. In the distance, Father is barking orders. Security finally reacts, pulls away the thrashing waiter. A few guests gasp, scream, and maybe I should scream too, but I don't have the wherewithal to do anything until my husband tells me, "For the next year, let's make sure to stay out of each other's way." Understood. I try to swallow. Fail the first time, do a great job the second. "And they say romance is dead," I say, pleased not to sound as dry-throated as I feel. He hesitates for a moment, and I could swear he inhales again, deep, storing up something. His hand tightens on my back for a second before finally letting go. And then Lowe Moreland, my husband, stalks off the dance floor, a trail of forest green blood tracking his path, leaving me blissfully alone on the night of our wedding. Chapter 3. He is under siege in his own home. The voice is young and sullen. It worms its way under my pillow and into my ears, nudging me awake in the dead middle of the day. "This used to be my room," it says. The floor is hard underneath me. My brain is blurry and my ears are made of cotton, and I don't know where I am. Why? Who would commit this ignominy upon my person? Wake me up when the sun is bright in the sky and I am sapped of all strength. Can I hide in here? She's grumpy today. I gather 6 months worth of energy and unearth myself from under the blankets, but run out of steam when it comes to lifting my eyelids. No, we vampires don't pulverize in the sun like glitter bombs. Sunlight burns us and it hurts, but it won't kill us unless the exposure is unfiltered and prolonged. However, we are pretty useless in the middle of the day, even inside. lethargic and weak and crawly and headachy, especially during late spring and summer, when the rays hit at that pesky steep angle. "This crepuscularity of yours is really cramping my brunch lifestyle," Serena used to say. "Also, the fact that you don't eat. Is it true that you don't have a soul? It's goddamn noon, and there is a child here asking me. Because you used to be dead." I crane my eyes to a semi-open slit and find her right here, in the closet where I made my bed early this morning. Her heartbeat hops happily around like a pent-up fawn. She's round-faced, curly-haired, American girl-dolled. Very annoying. "Who are you?" I ask. "And then you were forced to drink someone's blood." She is, I would estimate, anywhere between 3 and a young 13. I have no way of narrowing this down any further. With this one, my staggering indifference toward children meets my 25-year-old determination to avoid anything worse. And on top of everything, her eyes are a pale, dangerous, familiar green. "I don't like this. How did you get in here?" She points at the open closet door like I'm a little daft. "And then you came back to life, but without your soul." I squint at her in the near darkness, grateful that she hasn't pulled the curtains. "Is it true that you were bitten by a rabid dog and are now a furry who froths at the mouth during the full moon?" I'm trying to be a bitch, but she lets out a peal of laughter that has me feeling like a stand-up comedian. "No, silly." "Well then, you have your answer, while I still don't know how you got in here." She points at the door again, and I make a mental note to never have children. "I locked that." I'm sure I did. I'm positive that I did not spend my first night among the Wers without locking my damn door. I figured that even with their super strength, if one of them decided to wolf me down, a locked door would keep them out. Because Wers would build Wer-proof doors, right? "I have a spare key," Werchild says. "Oh. This used to be my room, so if I had nightmares, I got to go to Lowe, through there." She points at another door, whose doorknob I didn't try last night. I suspected who the adjoining room would belong to, and I didn't feel like processing that kind of trauma at 5 a.m. He says that I can still go, but now I'm across the hallway. A tinge of guilt penetrates my exhaustion. I've evicted a 13-year-old from her room and am forcing her to cross an entire hallway in the grip of horrific, recurring nightmares to reach her. "Oh crap, please tell me Moreland, S not your father." She doesn't reply. "Do you ever get nightmares?" "Vampires don't dream. I mean, I can deal with separating true lovers or whatnot, but an entire family, a child from her. Oh shit. Where is your mother?" "I'm not sure." "Does she live here?" "Not anymore." "Fuck, where did she go?" She shrugs. Lowe said that it's impossible to tell. I rub my eyes. Is Lowe your dad?" "Anna's father is dead." The voice comes from outside the closet, and we both turn. Standing in the light seeping in from the hallway is a red-haired woman. She's pretty, strong, fit in a way that suggests that she could run a half marathon with no notice. She stares at me with a mix of worry and hostility, like my kink is burning crickets with kerosene. "Many where children are orphaned, most of them at the hands of vampires like you. Best not ask them about the whereabouts of their parents. Come here, Anna." Anna runs to her, but not before whispering at me, "I like your pointy ears," entirely too loud. I'm too bone-tired to deal with any of this at midday. "I had no idea. I'm sorry, Anna." Anna seems unperturbed. "It's okay. Juno's just grouchy. Can I come over to play with you when?" "Anna, go downstairs and get a snack. I'll be there in a minute." Anna sighs and rolls her eyes and pouts like she was asked to file a tax return, but eventually she does leave, sneaking me an impish smile. My sleep-addled brain briefly considers returning it, then recalls that I let my fangs regrow. "She's Lowe's sister," Juno informs me protectively. "Please stay away from her. You might want to take this up with her, since she still has a spare key to her old room." "Stay away," she repeats, less worried, more threatening. "Right, sure. I can live without hanging out with someone whose skull hasn't even properly closed yet, though Anna is technically my BFF in Wer territory. Slim pickings over here. Juno, right? I'm Misery." "I know." I figured. Are you one of Lowe's seconds? She tenses, crossing her arms to her chest. Her eyes are hooded. You shouldn't. Should. Ask questions about the pack, or strike up conversation with us, or walk around unsupervised. That's a lot of rules to give to an adult for 1 year. Rules will keep you safe, her chin lifts, and keep others safe from you. That's a very honorable sentiment, but it might reassure you to know that I lived among the humans for nearly 2 decades and murdered. I pretend to check a note on my palm. A whole 0. Wow. It will be different here. Her eyes move from mine and trace the contours of the room, still a mess of moving boxes and piles of clothes. Her gaze hiccups on the bare mattress, now stripped of the sheets and blankets that I dragged inside the closet, then stops on the only thing I put up on the wall. A Polaroid of me and Serena looking away from the camera during that Sunset Lake tour we did 2 years ago. Some guy took it without asking, while we were dangling our feet in the water. Then he showed it to us and said he'd only return it if one of us gave him our number. We did the only logical thing, caught him in a headlock and forcibly took the photo. All that self-defense we learned, as it turns out, works for offense, too. I know what you're trying to do, Juno says, and for a moment I'm afraid that she read my mind, that she knows I'm here to search for Serena. But she continues, you can try to paint yourself as a pawn, say that you only agreed to this in the name of peace, but I don't believe it, and I don't like you. No shit, and I don't know you enough to make a judgment. Your jeans are cool, though. Riveting conversation, but I'm about to pass out. Thankfully, with one last withering look, Juno leaves. The corner of my eye catches a hint of movement. I turn, half expecting Anna to make a comeback, but it's just Serena's goddamned fucking cat, stretching his way out from under the bed. Now you show up. He hisses at me. During our 15-year friendship, I amassed 500,000 small, big, and mid-size reasons to love Serena Paris with the intensity of the brightest stars. Then, a few weeks ago, one came to obliterate all of them, driving me to loathe her with the strength of 1,000 full moons. Her damn fucking cat. As a rule, vampires don't do pets. Or pets don't do vampires. I'm not sure who started it. Maybe they think we smell yucky because we're obligate hemovores. Maybe we rejected them because they get along so well with wers and humans. Either way, when I began living among the humans, the concept of a domestic animal felt supremely foreign to me. My first caregiver had a little dog that she sometimes carried around in her purse, and honestly, I'd have been less shocked if she'd combed her hair with a toilet brush. I eyed him suspiciously for a few days, showed him my fangs when he showed his. Finally, I found the courage to ask the caregiver when she was going to eat him. She quit that night. Animals and I went on to do absolutely great ever since, giving each other wide berths on sidewalks and exchanging the occasional dirty look. It was pure bliss, until Serena's damn fucking cat came into the picture. I tried my best to dissuade her from adopting it. She tried her best to pretend she didn't hear me. Then, about 3 days after taking home 13 pounds of asshole from the shelter, she vanished into the ether. Poof. Growing up collecting attempted murders like milk teeth tempered me and taught me to be calm under pressure. And yet I still remember it, that first churning twist in my stomach when Serena didn't turn up to my place for laundry night. Didn't reply to my texts. Didn't pick up the phone. Didn't call in sick to work and simply stopped showing up. It felt a lot like fear. Maybe it wouldn't have happened if we'd still been living together. And honestly, I'd have been okay sharing an apartment. But after spending her first few years in an orphanage and her second few years as the companion of the best monitored vampire child in the world, she'd only wanted one thing: privacy. She'd given me a set of spare keys, though, and it had felt like such a precious, beautiful honor bestowed upon me. I'd carefully hidden them in a secret place. That by the time she disappeared, I'd long forgotten. So that day I broke into her apartment using a hairpin, just the way she taught me when we were 12, and the TV room was off limits, and 1 movie per day wasn't quite enough. Reassuringly, her rotten corpse was not folded in the chest freezer or anywhere else. I fed her damn fucking cat as he meowed like he was approaching starvation and hissed at me at the same time. checked that my brown contacts were in place and my fangs still properly dulled, then went to the authorities to report a missing person. And was told, she's probably hanging out with her boyfriend somewhere. I made myself blink to look extra human. Can't believe she told you about her love life and not me, her closest friend of 15 years. Listen, young lady, the officer sighed. He was a lanky, middle-aged man with more heart rate turbulence than most. If I had a nickel for every time someone disappears, and by that I mean they leave and neglect to tell someone in their social circle where they're going. You'd have how much? I lifted an eyebrow. He seemed flustered, though not enough for my taste. I bet she's on vacation. Does she ever take trips on her own? Yes, often, but she always warns me. Plus, she's an investigative reporter for the Herald and did not take days off, according to their system, which I hacked. Maybe she was out of vacation days and still wanted to, I dunno, drive to Las Vegas to see her aunt. Just a misunderstanding. We had plans to meet, and she's an orphan with no family or friends who doesn't own a car. According to her banking portal, to which she gave me access. Kind of. No cash withdrawals or online payments were processed. But maybe you're correct, and she's bouncing to Las Vegas on her pogo stick. No need to get testy, honey. We all want to think that we're important to the people who are important to us. But sometimes, our best friend is someone else's best friend. I closed my eyes to roll them behind my lids. Did you two maybe have a fight? The officer asked. I crossed my arms on my chest and sucked my cheeks in. That's not the point. Huh. Okay, I frowned. Let's say Serena secretly hates me. She still wouldn't leave her cat, would she? He paused. Then, for the first time, he nodded and picked up a notepad. I felt a spark of hope. Cat's name. She hasn't gotten around to naming him yet. Though last we spoke, she'd narrowed it down between Maximilian Robespierre and... How long has she had this cat? A few days. She still wouldn't let the little asshole starve, I hurried to add, but the officer had already dropped his pen. And even though I went back to the station 3 times that week and eventually managed to get a missing person report filed, no one did anything to find Serena. The hazard, I guess, of being alone in the world. No one to care that she was safe and healthy and alive. No one but me, and I didn't count. I shouldn't have been surprised, and I was. But apparently I still had the capacity to feel hurt. Because no one cared whether I was safe or healthy or alive. No one but Serena, the sister of my heart, if not of my blood. And even though I'd been plenty alone, I'd never felt so lonely as after she was gone. I wished I could cry. I wished for lacrimal ducts to let out this horrible terror that she'd left forever, that she'd been taken, that she was in pain, that it was my fault, and I'd driven her away with our last conversation. Unfortunately, biology was not on my side. So I worked through my feelings by going to her place and taking care of her damn fucking cat, who showed his gratitude by scratching me every single day. And of course, by looking for her where I shouldn't have. I had the keys, after all, because the key to everything is but a line of code. I was able to rifle through her bank statements, IP addresses, cell phone locations. Herald emails, metadata, app usage. Serena was a journalist, one who wrote about delicate financial stuff, and the most likely option was that she'd gotten embroiled in something fishy while working on a story, but I wasn't going to exclude other possibilities. So I went through everything and found nothing. Absolutely nothing. Serena's poof had been quite literal. But one cannot move in the world without leaving digital traces, which could only mean one thing. One terrible, blood-curdling thing that I couldn't even put into words in the privacy of my own head. And that's when I did it. I kneeled in front of Serena's damn fucking cat. He was playing like he always did after dinner, pawing at a crumpled receipt in a corner of the living room, but managed to squeeze a couple of hisses into his busy schedule just for me. Listen, I swallowed. Rubbed my hand on my chest and then even slapped it, trying to dull the ache. I know you only knew her for a few days, but I really... I scrunched my eyes shut. Oh fuck, this was hard. I don't know how it happened, but I think that Serena might be. I opened my eyes, because I owed it to this asshole cat to look at him. And that's when I got a good view of it. The receipt, which wasn't a balled-up receipt at all. It was a piece of paper torn from a journal, or perhaps a notebook, or no, a planner. Serena's incredibly outdated planner. The page was for the day of her disappearance, and there was a string of letters on it, written quickly in black marker. Gibberish. Or maybe not quite. A distant bell rang, reminding me of a game Serena and I used to play as kids, a primitive substitution cipher we made up to gossip freely in front of our caregivers. We'd named it the butterfly alphabet, and it mostly consisted of adding B and F syllables to normal words. Nothing complicated. Even rusty as I was, it took my brain only a few seconds to untangle it. And once I was done, I had something. I had 3 whole words. L.E. Memorialandi. Chapter 4. They say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. They don't know what they're talking about. Sporadic bouts of teenage idiocy notwithstanding, I doubt a vampire has been in our territory for centuries. I felt it in my bones last night as my driver sank farther past the river. Serena's damn cat fidgeted in the carrier next to me, and I knew that I was really, truly alone. Being with the humans was like living in a different country, but here, another galaxy, deep space exploration. The house I was brought to is built on a lake, surrounded by thick, gnarly trees on 3 sides and placid water on the remaining one. Nothing cave-like or underground, despite what I'd have imagined from a wolf-related species, and yet odd nonetheless, with its warm materials and large windows. Like the Wers teamed up with the landscape and decided to build something beautiful together. It's a bit jarring, especially after spending the last 6 weeks shuttling between the sterility of vampire territory and the crowded bustle of the humans. Avoiding the sunlight is going to be an issue, and so is the fact that the temperature is kept considerably lower than is comfortable for vampires. I can deal with that, though. What I was really bracing myself for was. In my 3rd year as the collateral, at a diplomatic dinner, I was introduced to an elderly matron. She was wearing a sequined dress, and when she lifted her hand to pinch my cheeks, I noticed that her antique bracelet was made of very unusually shaped, very pretty pearls. They were fangs, pulled from the corpses of vampires, or live ones, for all I know. I didn't scream or cry or attack that old hag. I was paralyzed, unable to function properly for the rest of the night, and only started processing what had happened when I got home and told Serena, who was furious on my behalf and demanded a promise from the caregiver on shift, that I would never be forced to attend a similar function again. I was, of course, many, many times, and I encountered many, many people who acted like that sparkly bitch, because the bracelets, the necklaces, the vials of blood were nothing but messages. Displays of discontentment for an alliance that, while long established, in many pockets of the population was still controversial. I expected something even worse from the Wers. I wouldn't have been shocked to see 5 of us impaled in the yard, slowly bleeding to death. No such thing, though. Just a bunch of sycamores and the flutter of my new friend Alex's rabbity heartbeat. Oh, Alex. I know I said this is Lowe's house, but he's the alpha, which means that lots of pack members come and go, and his seconds who live in the area are, pretty much always here, he says, walking me through the kitchen. He's young and cute, and wears khaki pants with an improbable number of pockets. When I met Juno earlier today, she clearly wanted to shove me under a giant magnifying glass and burn me alive, but Alex is just terrified at the idea of showing a vampire around her new accommodations. And yet he's rising to the occasion, running a hand through his mop of light hair to let me know that there have been, suggestions that you might want to store your, things in the other fridge over there. So if you please could, if it were possible, if it isn't a bother. I end his suffering. Don't keep my gory blood bags next to the mayo jar. Got it? Yes, thank you. He nearly slumps in relief. And, there are no blood banks that cater to vampires in the area because, well, any vamps in the area would be swiftly exterminated. Precisely. Wait, no, that's not what I was kidding. Oh, he pulls back from the verge of a heart attack. So, there are no banks, and you're obviously not at liberty to just walk in and out of our territory. I'm not, I gasp, and instantly feel guilty when he takes a step back and fingers his collar. Sorry, another joke. I wish I could smile reassuringly at him, without looking like I'm about to butcher everything that he holds dear, that is. Do you, have preferences? Preferences? Like, ob or o negative or... Ah, I shake my head. Common misconception, but cold blood is nearly flavorless, and the only things that would influence its taste would disqualify people from donating in the first place. Illnesses, mostly. And when do you? Feed, once a day. More when it gets really warm, heat makes us hungry. He looks queasy at the mention of blood, more so than I'd have expected from someone who turns into a wolf and mauls rabbits by the litterful. So I wander away to give him a minute to recover, taking in the stone accent wall and the fireplace. Despite the chill, there's something just right about this house, as though its place was meant to be here, carved between the trees and the waterfront. It's probably the nicest home I've ever lived in. Not bad, since there's a non-zero chance that I'll also croak in it. Are you one of his seconds? I ask Alex, turning away from the waves lapping at the pier. More Lowe's, I mean. No, he's younger, softer than Juno, not as defensive and buttoned up but more jittery. I've caught him squinting at the points of my ears 3 times already. Ludwig is. The second from my huddle is someone else. His what? How many seconds does Lowe have? 12. He pauses to stare at his feet. 11, actually, now that Gabrielle was sent to the... Gabrielle, I file away for future perusal. God, is that the mate? Was she his wife and his second? Alex clears his throat. Gabrielle will be replaced. By you. No, I wouldn't. And I'm not from her huddle, it'll have to be someone who... He scratches his neck and falls silent. Oh, well. Are there any close neighbors? I ask. Yeah, but close is different for us, because we can. Transform into wolves. No, well, yeah, but... His cheeks have an olive tinge. God, I think he's blushing, because of course they'd flush green. Shift, we call it shifting. We don't become something else. We just kind of toggle between 2 settings. This time I do smile, keeping my lips sealed. Love the coding references. You like tech. I like what tech can do. I lean against the counter. Years with the humans, and I'm still freaked out that houses contain entire huge-ass rooms dedicated to the preparation of food. So, when you guys shift into wolves, do you still think the same way? Does your brain shift with you, too? Alex mulls it. Yes and no. There are some instincts that take over in that form more than they otherwise would. The impulse to hunt, for instance, is very powerful. To chase a scent, track down an enemy. That's why you maybe shouldn't venture out alone, too. Skinny dip at midnight. He looks away. He's kind of adorable in an I want to tie his shoelaces and blow on his skinned knee kind of way. Do you? It's probably bullshit, but I just wanted to make sure. Vampires don't, right? I tilt my head. Don't what? Shift into animals. Not that I believe the bat rumor, but just in case you're going to fly away and... I bet Alex gets along great with Anna. Nope, I do not turn into a bat. Would be lovely, though. Okay, good. He seems incredibly relieved. I decide to take advantage of that, broadcasting a mix of casualness and very mild interest in my surroundings, then say offhandedly, can you shift into a wolf whenever you want? Or is the full moon thing just a rumor? It depends, I guess. On what? How powerful a were is. Being able to shift at will, it's a sign of dominance. Being able to avoid shifting during the full moon, too. I don't know what possesses me to ask. What about Lowe? Is he powerful? Alex lets out a startled laugh. He is the most powerful were I've ever seen, and that my grandfather has ever seen, and he's seen many alphas. Oh, I pick up a ladle or a spatula. I forgot which one is which. Is he powerful because he can shift whenever he wants? Alex frowns. No, that's just part of who he is, but everyone knew that he had the making of an alpha. His eyes are starting to shine. A Moreland stan, clearly. He was the fastest runner and the best tracker, and even his scent was right. That's why Roscoe sent him away. Not a dumb move, since in the end Lowe killed Roscoe. Alex blinks at me. He didn't kill him. He challenged him, and Roscoe died through that process. There must be cultural nuances that I'm not grasping here, not to mention that Roscoe was, by all accounts, a bloodthirsty sadist. Doesn't seem like a huge loss, so I don't press it. Is my roomie Lowe usually gone during the day? It's about 6 p.m., but I can't hear anyone moving about the place. Maybe Moreland is avoiding home because I stank it up. I took a bath when I woke up and soaked for a long time. Not quite an olive branch, but an olive. What about Anna? Anna is with Juno, Alex shrugs. Lowe is off to deal with the sabotage that happened this morning, and I cock my head, and it's a mistake, too much broadcasted interest. Alex takes a step back, clearing his throat. Actually, they're out on a run, he says, and he must be the worst liar I've ever seen. I'm tempted to pat his back, let him know that he's doing great and won't go to hell for making stuff up. Instead, I push harder. Have you ever seen humans in this house? Humans, his brow furrows. Like who? Serena's face flashes through my head. She's rolling her eyes because I'm wearing a Galaxy t-shirt I got for free when I bought a lava lamp. Who wears this, Misery? No, who buys a lava lamp? Any human, I shrug artfully. Just curious. I don't think he buys it. I've never seen a human in Wer territory. He gives me a suspicious look. I've played my hand too heavily. And this is the Alpha's home, a place for Wers to feel safe. Except now I live here. I play with my silver wedding band, a habit I've picked up in less than 24 hours. I've never been much for jewelry, but maybe I'll keep it when I find Serena and this is over. Or buy one of those mood rings that think vampires are always sad because our body temperature is low. Why? What do you mean? I'm just surprised Lowe would want me around. You're married. Not for real, though. Lowe and I didn't meet on a Caribbean vacation and fall in love while getting our scuba diving certificates. It's not a matter of love. I lift my eyebrow. Having you live with him, it's about protection, making a commitment, sending a message. They know you're not his true wife or his mate or anything. Ah, yes, the famed mate, who probably used to live in his house. I nod, not quite understanding. Then again, I don't understand humans or vampires either. I'm sure the Wers have their reasons to do what they do. Just like I have mine. So, I shouldn't head out on my own, but inside the house I can be wherever I want. Alex's shoulders relax at the change of topic. Sure, maybe stay out of Lowe's and Anna's rooms, and his office. Of course, I smile just a little, fangless. And where's the office? He points at the hallway behind me. Left, then right. Perfect. I just hope I don't get lost. I shrug airily and plant my first lie. My orientation skills are pretty bad. The first time I searched online for L.E. Moreland, I found two things. A semi-defunct GeoCities website promoting a wholly defunct real estate agent, and the infinite vastness of nothing. So I searched again, the way penetration testers do, with some disregard for doors. I jumped a fence or two, slithered between gates, pickets, took advantage of windows left half open by their owners. That's when I discovered that the late Leopold Eric Moreland, who died peacefully in his bed in 1999, had previously settled out of court on a lawsuit for negligence in his fiduciary duties, and was obsessed with Yorkies. And nothing else. So I took off my white hat, and when I started searching next, there was less stealthing around ajar doors and more knocking over entire walls. In hindsight, I got a little reckless, but I was getting frustrated because, no offense to my animal lover but sloppy worker friend Leopold, no decent records of L.E. Moreland could be found. With one exception. Deep in a human server with ties to the governor's office, hidden in a memo locked behind a bewildering number of passwords, I discovered a communication regarding a summit that had occurred a couple of weeks earlier. Around the time Serena hadn't shown up for laundry night. Lowe Moreland and M. Garcia are expected to be present, it said. Security will be increased. I like data and numbers and thinking things through with logic and pivot tables. I've never been instinctive, but in that moment, I just knew, that I was on the right track, that Lowe Moreland had to be involved in Serena's disappearance. So I started searching for him 24/7. I took time off work, called in favors, stared at security camera footage, went deep into the dark web, which is even less fun than it sounds. After weeks, I discovered one thing about Lowe Moreland. Whoever took care of erasing his digital footprint was nearly as good as I am. And I'm pretty fucking good. Once I found out from Father that Lowe was a the secrecy finally made sense. Their firewalls have always been exceptional, their networks hack-proof. I'd love to meet the person who keeps it up so I can either fangirl or deck them. But wandering around Lowe's beautiful home, which is even larger than I thought, I know that it's not going to be a problem anymore. Because while there might be several things I can't do remotely, if I'm physically in front of a computer, it's happening, baby. And once I'm in, I'm going to scour every single document and piece of communication the Wers have, and I'm going to find Serena, and then, what's the plan? Serena would ask if she were here, even though the little schemes she hatched never worked out. She liked the vibe of organizing more than the actual job of it, and my usually impervious heart clenches a little at the thought that I cannot call her out on it. I have no plan, just the only person I ever cared about, displaced from my life. And maybe it's a little amateur sleuth of me, all this skulking around through semi-dark hallways in the hope of finding a whiteboard with list of people Lowe disappeared written on it. I'm begging for something, anything, while being aware that this entire endeavor melting into nothing is a distinct possibility. A slightly nauseating one. And there she is. I jump, startled. The good news is, Lowe didn't come home early from something that definitely wasn't a run to find his reeking vampire bride, pretending she mixed up his office with the linen closet. The bad is, "You are very beautiful, aren't you?" the Were says. He's younger than me, maybe around 18. When he comes closer, I try to place him, wondering if I remember his short, wiry frame and aquiline nose from the ceremony. But he wasn't there, and I believe he's seeing me for the first time, too. I didn't think vampires could be beautiful. There's nothing complimentary about his words. He's neither hitting on me nor attempting to creep me out. Just stating a simple fact, followed by another step toward me, and I'm suddenly very conscious that I'm at the end of a hallway. He stands between me and the exit. "Who are you?" "Max," he says, but doesn't elaborate. There is something absent-minded, almost empty about him, disoriented, like he was going to take a swim in the lake but found himself here without planning on it. "I wonder if Lowe likes seeing you around, because you're so pretty," he muses numbly. I doubt it. I want to put a door between myself and Max, but the only one I can reach is Lowe's office, locked. I glance around for another escape route, but all I find is a giraffe painting of questionable quality. I might be overreacting. Or maybe he hates you, because you force him to remember. Remember what? This is unsettling. I don't want to startle you, but would you mind if I walked past? Remember what your people have taken from him. It's almost as much as they've taken from me, and yet he's making alliances with them like a common traitor. He married you and said that you're not to be harmed. Max runs a hand over his dark hair and then shakes his head in what looks like disbelief. He looks so deeply lost, I forget my unease and ask, "Are you okay?" His eyes sharpen. How could I be okay? He takes a step farther, nearly cornering me against the wall. The smell of his blood sweeps over me, hot, unpleasant. His heartbeat punches in my ears, booming, impossibly fast. How could I be okay when you're here in my Alpha's home after your people have hunted my relatives and mounted their embalmed heads to their walls? The part of me who was once 14 years old and almost stabbed by an anti-vampire activist posing as a gas inspector kicks in. Then maybe we're even, since your people have made wine out of the blood of mine and then mixed it with livestock feed. I slide a hand into the pocket of my jeans, hoping for any weapon. A key, a toothpick, even some lint, nothing. Shit. Tell me. He moves closer. I force myself to stand my ground. Your father is alive. As far as I know. Mine isn't, nor my older sister. His green eyes are bright and glossy. She was murdered when I was 9, while patrolling a border in the Northeast that the vampires sometimes cross just for fun. She died to protect me and other were children, and... The words stick in his throat. I feel a surge of compassion. My heart drops, heavy with certainty that he's going to burst into tears. But I'm dead wrong, and I realize it too late. He races toward me in a sudden explosion of vicious energy. The impact of his body against mine briefly knocks the breath out of me. Briefly. He's a male much stronger, but I'm used to people wanting to assassinate me, and when his hand clutches my wrist, hours of training spring into muscle memory. My knee hits his groin and he wails. I use the distraction to push him away, and it's not easy, it hurts. But by the time I can breathe again, my forearm is pinning his throat to the wall, and our faces are only inches apart. I don't want to hurt him. I'm not going to hurt him, even if he's screaming abuse at me. I will end you and murderer and you leech. So I peel back my lips and show him my fangs. The rumble in his throat instantly dulls into a whimper. His eyes lower to the ground, and the tension in his muscles loosens. I take a deep breath, making sure that he's not faking this, that he's really calmed down and he won't attack me the second I pull back, and... A pair of hands 1,000,000 times stronger than Max's yanks me away. What happens next is too blurry to parse, but a moment later, I'm the one sandwiched against the opposing wall. My back digs into the frame of the giraffe painting, and my front presses against something just as unyielding, but warm. What the fuck, I think, or maybe I say it out loud. I'm just not sure, because when I open my eyes, all I can focus on is the way Lowe Moreland is staring down at me. Chapter 5. She is resilient. He tries to imagine how he'd feel if he were in her position, alone, removed, used, and discarded. He has nothing but reluctant respect for her, and that angers him. Unlike Max's grip, Lowe's doesn't hurt. It's tight, though, and the way he presses me against the wall, like he's trying to put his big body between me and the rest of the world, makes it difficult to breathe in without plastering my entire front to his. "Miss Lark," he says, hoarse, a growl nearly. I swallow against the sudden drought in my throat, which makes me realize where his hand is, wrapped around my neck, almost entirely. His fingers are so long, they touch the valleys behind my ears. "What do you think you're doing?" he asks, low and deep. Those offbeat eyes of his bore into mine. My heartbeat, which remained miraculously steady during my scuffle with Max, suddenly pounds louder, then whisks into slow flutters when Lowe lowers his head to murmur against my temple. "We haven't even been married for 24 hours. Praying mantises have longer honeymoon periods." Max I could take fairly easily. Lowe, no way. It's the difference between a puppy and a dire wolf. "Just my words sound wobbly, I'm not proud of that. Trying to avoid getting killed." Lowe stiffens for a millisecond, then pushes away. But he sticks close, palms flat against the wall on each side of my head, one still bandaged from yesterday's wound. It feels like a cage. A makeshift prison that he's building, made of his body and his glare, to keep me pinned in place as he turns around to ask Max, "You okay?" Max looks up and nods, lips trembling. By now there are several wers gathered around him. Alex, who glances between Lowe and me with an expression so guilty he'd probably admit to mortgage fraud if pressed ever so slightly. But also Juno, thoroughly inspecting Max for any mortal wounds I might have inflicted, and the older man and the ginger from the ceremony, who stare at me as though I just told the orphanage kids that Santa isn't real. Everyone in this hallway looks very ready to shatter my kneecaps, maybe eat the marrow after. Which, nope. "Excuse me." I try to dip out of Lowe's cage to leave. He lowers one arm, locking me in more tightly. "What happened?" he asks me. Juno beats me to the answer. She was about to drink him dry. We all saw it. She runs a hand over Max's clammy forehead. He looks briefly adrift and then stammers out. "She was on me, before I could do anything about it, and..." He bends his head, as if lost for words. Every pair of eyes in the room turns to me. "Oh, come on," I snort. "Her fangs were so close," he whispers feebly, and now I'm getting annoyed. Clearly method acting is his passion, but he did try to assault me. Yeah, okay. I roll my eyes. Please, leave me out of your erotomaniacal delusions. Have a doctor check Max, Lowe barks, and then his hand closes around my wrist, at once gentle and unyielding. It happens so fast, I nearly lose my balance. Before I know it, I'm scrambling to keep up with his longer legs as he drags me inside his office. I immediately look around. I am worried about what he's going to do with me, but this is a great opportunity. He didn't use a key, which means that he must have some kind of smart lock. What happened? Lowe asks. He let go of me, but still stands way too close, when there's plenty of space in the room to not crowd me. It's giving me flashbacks to our wedding, and this time I'm not even wearing heels, which means that he gets to loom over me in a way almost no one ever does. The door opens suddenly. Juno enters, but Lowe's eyes stay on me. Misery, he growls. How about you fucking answer me for once? Max came over, saw me, decided to indulge in some light afternoon murder. I shrug. That I'm used to. It's the subsequent lying that. Bullshit, Juno says. I turn to her. I'm not asking you to believe me, but reason it out. Why would I attack a Wer on my first day in your territory when the consequences would be my death at best and full-on war between the Wers and the Vampyres at worst? I think you can't help yourself. I think you saw him and you wanted to feed and you. And I was too lazy to stop by the blood-dedicated fridge 50 feet away. I step in front of her, forgetting all about Lowe. That's not how feeding works. Let's just acknowledge that we know nothing about each other's species. Max came in, started telling me about how a bunch of people I share some distant DNA with killed his family, that Lowe's a traitor for marrying me, and then he. What? Juno isn't listening to me anymore. Her eyes meet Lowe's. A whole conversation passes between them in a split second. Then she looks back at me, furious. If you are trying to imply that Max is working with the Loyals. I'm not, because I have no idea what the Loyals are. Max is not a Loyal. Sure, he's not a brook trout either. I'm not making any ontological claims on him, but he did attack me. You are, she takes an angry step closer, a liar. Leave us. Lowe's sharp voice reminds us that we're not alone in the room. We turn at once, and we're equally shocked to see that he's addressing Juno. She's lying, Juno insists. It's getting a little ridiculous, the way she points at me like I'm a mugger who yanked her purse away. You should punish her. I snort out a laugh. Yes, Lowe, spank me and take away my TV privileges. You blade-eared leech. Juno, out. However the hierarchy works among the Wers, it must be strict. Because Juno clearly wants to stay and ground me with her claws, but she dips her head once in something akin to a salute, and then murmurs a soft alpha before stalking out of the office. It feels like respite, the door closing behind her, the blessed quiet, until Lowe moves closer, and I suddenly mourn not having a third person in the room. The bad, as it turns out, is still better than the worse. Misery, he says. There is reproach in his voice, and a bit of a rough edge, and the tone of someone who has lots of problems keeping him busy, and is used to solving most of them with a look and maybe a tiny threat of violence. We regard each other, just me and him, and yes, I feel it loud in my blood. We're alone. For the first time, though not of many to come. I doubt Lowe was planning to spend quality time with me ever again after yesterday. Aside from a layer of stubble, he looks like he did at the ceremony, his harsh face all structure. Clearly, as my makeup artist was painting the Sistine Chapel Redux, he's found nothing to improve on. I notice his eyes dip to my collarbone, where a faint shadow of the forest green markings still lingers behind the riot of waves left over from the braids. Once again, that muscle in his jaw jumps, pupils get fat all of a sudden. This situation is a problem. The collateral is supposed to be a non-playable character in a video game. For the next year, I need to be invisible, unobtrusive as I search for Serena, not the kind of nuisance who gets caught murdering a young Wer. God, I bet they call them pups. You don't believe me, do you? I ask. He blinks, like he forgot we were in the middle of a conversation. He clears his throat, but his voice stays gravelly. Believe what? That I didn't attack Max. He presses his full lips together. You were showing him your fangs. You jealous? I bat my eyes at him, not sure where this recklessness comes from. I don't think I want to provoke him. Want to see them. His eyes rocket down to my lips and stay for a beat too long. It's almost funny how repulsive words find our teeth. What I am is worried that my vampire wife will get herself killed. I'd have to bury her corpse in the raised bed under the plumbago, and the next batch will sprout ugly. I gasped theatrically. Not the plumbago. They are my sister's favorite. And she is very cute. He abruptly leans so close, I feel his breath on my lips. Is this a threat? No, I frown, bewildered. No, I let out a choked laugh. There was no would be a shame if something happened to her implied. Despite the fan fiction Max and Juno have been writing about me, I do not usually plot the demise of children. I think about my conversation with Alex, who's probably off somewhere biting his cuticles to little stumps. Plus, you're the one who decided I should be living here. His eyebrow lifts. I'm sure you have some excellent advice on where else I should house the daughter of the most powerful vampire in the council, who's apparently a fearsome fighter in her own right. Fearsome, I'm flattered. For a non-wer, he adds, a tad begrudgingly, like he regrets the compliment. I bet this man thrives on grudges. He has a questionable temperament, stern and autocratic, and I've always thought of myself as too much of a survivor to be in any way mouthy, but here I am. Nettlesome. Still, it feels like committing to the bit a little too much, giving me the bedroom next to yours. I'll decide what's too much. He's condescending and inflexible, a dick probably. By all means, then, let's embrace tradition. Should we slice my palm and drip some blood on the sheets? Hang them from the public square? His eyes close briefly, and he grits out, I doubt there are any expectations of virginity on your part. Fantastic. I love surprising people. I see the confusion in his parted lips, before he subdues it and shifts back to his default austere expression. It's amusing to me, the idea that someone who has skimmed a synopsis of my life would assume I've had any sort of romantic entanglement. With whom? A vampire when they only see me as a traitor, a human who would consider me a monster. The birth control shot I was given before coming here was a joke, not just because Lowe and I are as likely to have sex as we are to start a podcast together, but also because he's a wer and I a vampire, and we couldn't reproduce even if we wanted to. Interspecies relationships are unheard of, if not unseen, judging by all the human-produced porn Serena and I would watch. We'd eat popcorn and laugh at the untalented actors in purple contacts and fake teeth engaging in acts that proudly showcase their ignorance of vampire anatomy. Were, too. I'm no expert, but I'm fairly sure their dicks wouldn't get stuck in an orifice like that. Where did you learn how to fight? Lowe asks, probably to change the topic from sex with his least favorite sentient species. Was it not listed in your briefing memo? He shakes his head. I did wonder how you could still be alive after 7 attempts on your life. So did I, and there were more than that, though most were half-assed. We got tired of reporting them. Wait. My foster sister and I cross my arms, and now I'm mirroring his pose. Here we are, too close once again, my elbows almost brushing his. We took self-defense classes together. You know her, don't you? She knows you. Tell me something, anything. He does, but not what I want to hear. No fighting in our territory. Sure, so next time someone attacks me, I let them help themselves. Then again, you could be the next one to attack me, since you're not exactly a fan. The pause that follows is not encouraging. For as long as you live in our territory, you are under my protection, and under my authority. I let out a silent, breathy laugh. What are your orders for me then? He takes one step closer, and the tension in the room instantly changes, shifting to something tighter, more dangerous. Fear stabs my stomach that maybe I pushed too much. That's why a wer is bending over me, to remind me how insignificant I am and say, I need you to behave, Misery. His voice is all hard consonants and narrow eyes, and a shiver runs up my spine, cold and electric. My mind jumps back to Alex's words. Even his scent was right. Everyone knew that he had the making of an alpha. I'm no were, and if I inhale, all I can smell is clean sweat and strong blood, but I think I know what he meant. Somehow I feel it, the compulsion to nod, agree, to do as Lowe wants. I have to actively stop myself and shiver in the process. At least you are clever enough to be afraid, he murmurs. I grit my teeth. Just cold. You keep the temperature far too low. His nostrils flare. Do as I fucking tell you, Misery. But of course, my voice is steady, but he knows how rattled I am, just as I know I'm rattling him. May I be excused? He nods brusquely, and I dart for the door. But then I remember something important I've been meaning to ask. I turn back to him. Can my cat? I stop because Lowe's eyes are closed. He's inhaling deeply, as though gathering every possible air molecule within the room inside his lungs. And he looks tormented, in pure, absolute agony. He straightens his expression when he notices that I'm looking, but it's too late. My stomach twists with something slimy and unpleasant. Guilt. I took a bath. Did that not make it better? His stare is blank. Make what better? My scent. He swallows visibly. His tone is sharp. The situation hasn't improved for me. But how? What were you going to ask, Misery? Oh, right. I have a cat. He scowls like I told him I keep pet centipedes. You have a cat. Yup. I stop at that, because Lowe hasn't earned the right to any explanation for my life choices. Not that anything about Serena's damn fucking cat was a choice. He's currently locked in my room if your sister didn't let him out with her pilfered key. Can I let him roam around the house, or will Max try to frame him for racketeering? Your cat is welcome among us, Lowe says. If that's not a jab, nothing else is. Wonder how that feels, I say breezily, and slip out of the room without glancing at him again. Chapter 6. Being gone is a relief, and sheer agony. All in all, it's not the most auspicious of starts. In the week following my arrival, I spend an unhealthy amount of time mentally slapping myself over the way I handled the kerfuffle with Max. I don't care whether the Wers think I'm a deranged monster, but I do mind that whatever crumb of freedom they might have been inclined to give me has been swiftly vacuumed up. I'm escorted everywhere, as I take a stroll by the lake to grab a blood bag from the fridge, when I sit in the garden at dusk just to experience something that's not my end sweet. I am but a cornucopia of regret, because we're all bad bitches, till a scowling where stands outside the bathroom door while we're washing our hair. Till we lose our chance to snoop around. So much time on my hands, and so little to spend it on. It's the collateral life I'm familiar with, just with significantly fewer Serenas to keep me busy. I should be bored to death, but the truth is, this is not too different from my routine in the human world. I have no friends, no hobbies, and no real purpose aside from earning enough money to pay rent in order to exist, I guess. It's like you're, I don't know, suspended, untethered from everything around you. I just need to see you go towards something, Misery. There might be something stunted about me. After the collateral term was over, Serena and I were free to venture into the outside world, to be with people who weren't our tutors or our caregivers, to fall in love and make friends. Serena jumped right into that, but I could never bring myself to. Partly because the closer I'd let someone get to me, the harder it'd be to hide who I was. Or maybe spending the first 18 years of my life becoming acquainted with the cruelty of all species didn't quite set me up for a bright future. Who knows? So I sleep during the day and spend my nights napping. I take long baths, first for Lowe's sake, then because I grow to truly enjoy them. I watch old human movies. I walk around my room, marveling at how pretty it is, wondering who the hell thought of this beamed ceiling, sophisticated and cozy and stunning at once. I do miss the internet. There is a concern that I might want to moonlight as a spy, and to prevent me from transferring classified and confidential information I could come across while in war territory, I don't really have access to technology, with the exception of my weekly check-in call with Vania, which is heavily monitored and lasts just long enough for her to sneer at me as she ascertains that I'm still alive. Of course, this is not my first rodeo, and I did try to smuggle in a cell phone, plus a laptop and a bunch of pen testing gadgets. Your Honor, I got caught. Whoever went through my stuff had the gall to confiscate half of it and to pluck out all the antenna points and Wi-Fi cards from the rest. When I realized it, I lay on the floor for 2 hours, like a thwarted jellyfish beached in the sun. Lowe is rarely around and never within sight, although sometimes I'll feel his low voice vibrate through the walls. Firm orders, long hushed conversations. Once, memorably, right as I slid into my closet for my midday rest, a deep laugh followed by Anna's delighted screams. I drifted asleep moments later, second-guessing what I heard. On the 5th evening, someone knocks on my door. "Hi, Misery." It's Mick, the older who was talking with Lowe at the ceremony. I like him a lot. Mostly because, unlike my other guards, he doesn't seem to want me to go stand outside and get struck by lightning. I love to think that we bonded when he took his first night shift. I noticed him slumping against the wall, pushed my rolling chair into the hallway, and bam, instantly BFFs. Our 3-minute conversation about water pressure was the apogee of my week. "What's up, friendly neighborhood warden?" The politically correct name is Protective Detail. There is something off about his heartbeat, something dull, a slight drag that's almost despondent. I wonder if it's related to the big scar on his throat, but I might be imagining it altogether, because he smiles at me in a way that turns his eyes into a web of crow's feet. Why can't everyone be this nice? "And there's a video call for you, from your brother. Come with me." Any hope I have that Mick will take me to Lowe's office and leave me alone to snoop around dies when we head for the sunroom. "Ready to come back," Owen says before hi. I don't think that's an option if we want to avoid pissing off father. I was thinking full-on war. Owen waves his hand. Yes, that too. How's marital life?" I'm very aware of Mick sitting across from me, intently monitoring everything I say. "Boring. You got hitched to a guy who could kill you any second of any day. How are you bored?" "Technically, anybody could kill anybody, anytime. Your obnoxious friends could pull out a garrote on you tonight. I could have poured triazolapyrimidines in your blood bags 1,000,000 times over in the past 20 years. I tap my chin. As a matter of fact, why did I not? Something flickers in his eyes. "And to think that we used to like each other," he murmurs darkly. He's not wrong. Before I left for human territory, every vampire child who chose to be a dick about my soon-to-be collateral ship tended to encounter curiously karmic events. Mysterious bruises, spiders crawling in backpacks, mortifying secrets bared to the community. I'd always suspected it was Owen's doing. Then again, maybe I was wrong. When I returned home at 18, he seemed less than happy to see me, and he certainly didn't want to associate with me in public. "Can you please just be terrified to be living among the Wers?" he asks. So far, humans are worse. They do shit like burning the Amazon rainforest or leaving the toilet seat up at night. Anyway, anything you need from me? He shakes his head, just making sure you're still alive. Oh, I wet my lips. I doubt he gives a fuck about whether I continue to exist on this metaphysical plane, but this is a good opportunity. "I'm so glad you called because I miss you so much, Owen." A stutter of incredulity flashes on his grainy face, then understanding dawns on him. "Yeah, I miss you too, honey." He leans back in his chair, intrigued. "Tell me what ails you." Every vampire in the Southwest knows that we are twins, if only because our arrival was originally celebrated as a dazzling source of hope. 2 babies at once. In the prestigious Lark family, when conception has been so difficult and so few of our young come by, all hail. And later briskly swept under a thick rug of truculent stories, they murdered their own mother during a 2-night labor. The boy weakened her, and the girl dealt the final blow, Misery, they named her. More blood flowed on that bed than during the Astor. Serena had known, too, when I first introduced her to him after she pestered me to meet the guy who could have been my roomie for years if you'd played your cards better, Misery. They'd surprisingly hit it off, bonding over their love for roasting my appearance, my clothes, my taste in music, my general vibe. And yet, even Serena wasn't able to shut up about how unbelievable it was that Owen, with his dark complexion and already receding hairline, was even related to me. It's because where I take after father, well, I suppose he looks like mother. Hard to say, since no pictures seem to have survived her. But whatever the differences between Owen and me, those months sharing a womb must have left some mark on us. Because despite growing up with fewer interactions than a pair of pen pals, we do seem to understand each other. Remember when we were children, I ask, and father would take us to the forest to watch the sun set and feel the night begin. Of course, neither father nor the army of nannies who looked after us ever did anything like it. I think of it often. I've been reminiscing about the things father would say, like, "That thing I lost, do you have any news about it?" I shift smoothly between English and the tongue, making sure not to change intonation. Mick's eyes glance up from his phone, more curious than suspicious. "Ah, yes. You used to laugh for minutes and say, 'I have not. She hasn't returned to her apartment. I'll be alerted if she does.' But then you'd get mad because father and I weren't paying attention to you and wander off on your own, grumbling about the oddest things. Let me know if that changes. Have you been talking with the word collateral? Has she mentioned anything about loyals?" He nods and sighs happily. "I know you'll never believe it, but I always say I have no contact with her, but I'll see what I can do. Father always loved you best, darling." "Oh, darling, I think he loves us equally." Back in my room, I pull out my computer, wondering if I could pilfer a Wi-Fi chip off someone's phone. I fuck around a bit, writing a flexible script to scour where servers that I might never be able to use. Like always while coding, I lose track of time. When I look up from my keyboard, the moon is high, my room is dark, and a small, creepy creature stands in front of me. It's wearing owl leggings with a chiffon tutu and stares at me like the ghost of Christmas past. I yelp. "Hi." "Oh my God, Anna." "Hello." I clutch my chest. "What the fuck?" "Are you playing?" I glance down at my laptop. I'm building a fuzzy logic circuit seems like the wrong kind of answer. "Sure, how did you get in here?" "You always ask the same questions." "And you always get in here. How?" She points at the window. I stride there with a frown, bracing myself against the sill to look out. I've explored it before, in my desperate quest for some unsupervised espionage. The bedrooms are on the second floor, and I've checked multiple times whether I could climb down, unless I got bit by a radioactive spider and developed suction cups on my fingers, or jump out, not without breaking my neck. It never occurred to me to look up. "Through the roof?" I ask. "Yes, they took away my key." "Does your brother know you've been climbing like a spider monkey?" She shrugs, I shrug too, and go back to my bed. It's not like I'm gonna tattle her out. "Which one is it?" she asks. "What?" "A spider monkey. Is it a spider that looks like a monkey, or a monkey that looks like a spider?" "I'm not sure. Let me Google and..." I pull my computer onto my lap, then remember the Wi-Fi situation. "Fuck." "That's a bad word," Anna says, giggling in a delighted, tickled way that has me feeling like an improv genius. She's flattering company. "What's your name?" "Misery." "Myersey." "Misery." "Yes, Myersey." "That's not, whatever." "Can I play with you?" She eyes my laptop eagerly. "No." Her pretty mouth curves into a pout. "Why?" "Because, what are we even going to do? Long division." "Alex lets me play." "Alex, the blonde guy?" I haven't seen him since the Max incident. I'm assuming it was filed as under his watch and got him plucked out of jailer rotation. "Yes, we steal cars and talk with the beautiful ladies, but Alex says that Juno isn't supposed to know." "You play Grand Theft Auto with Alex?" She shrugs. "Is that appropriate for a 3-year-old?" "I'm 7, she declares haughtily, holding up 6 fingers. I let that slide. Not gonna lie, pretty proud that it was within my range of estimation. Another shrug, which seems like her default response. Relatable, honestly. She settles on the bed next to me, and I'm briefly worried that she might pee on it. Does she have a diaper? Is she housebroken? Should I burp her? "I wanna play," she repeats. I'm not a soft person. After living the first 18 years of my life in function of a long list of very nebulous others, I perfected assertiveness. I have no issue with producing a firm, final no and never revisiting a request again. So I must be suffering a major cerebral event when I sigh and pull up my editor and quickly use JavaScript to whip up a snake-like game. Is this edu? Edu, she asks after I'm done explaining how it works. Edutational. Educational. Juno says it's important that the games are edu. I don't know if it is, but at least no major felonies are involved. There is something disarming about the way she leans against me, soft and trusting, as though our people haven't been hunting each other for sport in the last couple of centuries. Her tongue sticks out between her teeth as she tries to snatch apples, and when a dark curl slips in front of her right eye, I catch myself with my fingers hovering right there, tempted to fold it behind her ear. Shit, I mutter, pulling back my hand. What? Nothing. I trap my arms between my back and the wall, horrified. It feels like the middle of the night when Anna yawns and decides it's time to go back to her room. My cat is waiting for me anyway. Wait, your cat? She nods. Does your cat happen to be gray, long hair, smushed face? Yes, her name is Sparkles. Oh, fuck. First of all, he's a boy. She blinks at me. His name is Sparkles, then. No, his name is Serena's damn fucking cat. Anna's expression is pitying. And he's actually my cat, Serena's, whatever. I don't think so. You do realize that he arrived when I did. But he sleeps with me. Ah, so that's where he disappears to all the time. That's just because he hates me. Then maybe he's not your cat, she says, with the delicate somberness of a therapist who's letting me know that I don't have a diagnosable disorder. I'm just a bitch. You know what? I don't care. It's between you and Serena. Who's Serena? My friend. Your best friend. I only have the one, so, yeah. My best friend is Misha. She has red hair, and she's the daughter of my brother's best friend, Cal. And Juno is her aunt. And she has a little brother, his name is Jackson, and a little sister, and her name. This is not the brothers Karamazov, I interrupt. I don't need the family tree. Is Jeline, she continues, undeterred. Where is Serena? I'm trying to find her. Maybe my brother can help you. He's real good at helping people. I swallow, I just can't with children. Maybe. She studies me for several seconds. Are you like Lowe? I'm not sure what you mean, but no. He doesn't sleep either. I do sleep, just during the day. Lowe doesn't sleep, at all. Never is it a were thing, an alpha thing. She shakes her head. He has pneumonia. Seriously, when did he get it? He seemed healthy to me. Maybe for worse, pneumonia is not a big... Wait, I call when I see Anna heading for the window. How about you go through the door? She doesn't even stop to say no. It would be more fun. You could stop by Lowe's room on your way, I offer, because if this child dies, it's on me. Say hi, hang out. He's not here. He's gone to deal with the lollipops. I trail after her. With the lollipops. Yes. There's no way he is dealing with. Do you mean the loyals? Yes, the lollipops. She's already climbing upward, and Spider Monkey doesn't even begin to describe how agile she is. But still. Don't come back. Forbid you from continuing. She keeps scaling. You're a vampire. I don't think you can tell me what to do. She sounds more matter-of-fact than bratty, and all I can think of replying is, shit. I follow her progress, terrified, wondering if this is motherhood, anxiously picturing your child with her skull cracked open. But Anna knows exactly what she's doing, and when she has hoisted herself on top of the roof and disappeared from my view, I'm left alone with two separate pieces of knowledge. I'm befuddlingly invested in the survival of this tiny pest of a were. And Lowe, my husband, my roomie, is gone for the night. I slip inside the bathroom, find one of my hairpins, and do what I have to do. Chapter 7. The scent is growing into more than just a problem. It invades, it swirls, it travels, It sticks to his nose. It concentrates sometimes. They rarely touch. When they did, her wrist accidentally brushed against the front of his shirt, and he found himself tearing off the piece of fabric where her smell was most intense. He slipped it in his pocket and now carries it everywhere, even as he leaves to avoid her. Breaking in takes longer than I expected, but not by much. The lock clicks and I stop, wondering if my guard, a no-bullshit were named Gemma, I believe, will check in on me. After a minute, I decide that I'm safe and push the door open. Lowe's room is as beautiful and interesting as mine, the accent wall and beamed ceiling setting a snug, mellow atmosphere. It has less furniture, though, and even though Lowe must have been living here far longer than me, I see 2 moving boxes stacked in a corner, and a couple of framed paintings leaning against the wall, waiting to be put up. The soles of my feet are cold as I step on the herringbone hardwood floors. I know exactly what I'm looking for: a phone, a laptop, possibly a diary titled, "That Time I Abducted Serena Paris," with an easily breakable lock, but can't help indulging in some snooping. There are several shelves, lined with classics, fiction, but mostly art books, tall and thick and glossy, the pages full of beautiful sculptures and odd buildings and paintings I've never seen before. The bathroom is spotless all over, except for the corner where a unicorn toothbrush, strawberry toothpaste, and no-tear shampoo have been placed. His closet is martial in its orderliness, every shirt monochrome, every pair of pants neatly folded, always khakis or jeans. The sole exception is the suit he wore at our wedding. My husband, I discover, wears size 14 shoes. I search for electronics, to no avail. I really did not need to know that Lowe Moreland hates clutter, that he's immune to the inevitable accumulation of useless trinkets we're all subject to. He owns what he needs, and all he needs seems to be one charger, a million pairs of interchangeable boxer briefs, and a bottle of silicone-based lube. I find it in his bedside nightstand, pick it up, and immediately drop it like it's a nest of wasps. Okay, I didn't need to know that but his lady is off frolicking with my people, and, okay, it's perfectly normal. I'm not going to think about this any longer. Starting now. There is one single picture on the wall, a younger Anna and a beautiful middle-aged woman who shares Lowe's distinctive coloring and sharp cheekbones. The more I study it, the more I notice that aside from the eyes, Anna doesn't look like her mother at all, nor like Lowe. If they take after their father, they must have grabbed different things. I search under the pillows, behind the headboard in the desk. Lowe clearly doesn't keep a laptop in the bedroom, and this entire break-in is starting to feel like a useless endeavor. I've mostly given up when I try the bottom drawer of the dresser and find it shut. Hope gurgles. I run back to my room and retrieve my hairpin. I'm not sure what I expect from a locked cabinet, maybe Vampyre fang necklaces, or extra lube he got wholesale, or a drawer full of Wi-Fi cards accompanied by a Hallmark greeting card. Help yourself, Misery. Not a set of pencils and a sketch pad. I frown, picking it up and opening it, gently pulling the pages apart to avoid any ripping. Initially, I think I'm looking at a photo. That's how beautiful the art is, how accurate and painstaking. But then I notice the smudges, the lines that sometimes stretch a little too long, and no. This is a drawing, an architectural drawing of a vault, flawlessly executed. My heart thuds louder, but I couldn't say why. With trembling fingers, I start turning the pages. There are sketches of rooms, offices, storefronts, piers, houses, bridges, stations. Large and small buildings, statues, domes, cabins. Some are just the outside, while others include inside layouts and furniture. Some have numbers and vectors scribbled in the margins, others colors woven through them. All of them are perfect. He's an architect. I'd forgotten, or perhaps I never had a clear idea of what it meant. But looking at these drawings, I feel it as something solid and heavy in my stomach. The love Lowe has for beautiful shapes, exquisite places, interesting sights. He's only a few years older than me, but this is not the work of someone who's untrained. There is expertise here, and passion, and talent, not to mention time that I cannot imagine he has to dedicate to beauty and pretty drawings now that he's the alpha of his pack, and it's too much. I'm thinking about this, about him, way too hard. I shut the sketch pad too forcefully and place it back where I found it. It causes something that was at the very end of the notebook to slip out. A portrait. My heart halts as I scramble to lift it up, expecting, no, sure, that I'll find Serena's smiling face on it. The pouty lips, upturned eyes, narrow nose, and pointed chin. They're all so familiar to me that I think it must be her, because who else's face would I know so well? It can only be Serena's or mine. Lowe Moreland has drawn my face and then stuffed it at the bottom of his bottom drawer. I'm not sure when he observed it long enough to pluck this level of detail out of me, the serious, detached air, the tight-lipped expression, the wispy hair curling around the cusp of an ear. Here, what I do know, there is something sharp about the drawing, something searing and intense and expansive that's simply not there in the other sketches. Force and power and lots of feelings were involved in the making of this portrait. Lots, and I can't imagine they were positive. I frown, I swallow, I sigh. Then I whisper, I'm not a fan either, Lowe, but you don't see me doodling you with horns in my diary. I fold everything back in the drawer, making sure it's exactly how I found it. On my way out, I let my fingers trail on the bookshelves, wondering once more just how bad my next year with the Wers is going to get. The following day I sleep until late afternoon. I'm tired enough that I could go longer, but there's something going on outside, on the usually calm lakeshore. It involves screaming laughter and charred smells, and I drag myself to the window to check it out, making sure to avoid the direct light still filtering in. It's a barbecue, or a potluck, or a cookout. I never quite got the difference, despite Serena's explanations on the nuances of human social get-togethers. Vampires don't really build community this way, by assembling without an agenda. Our friendships are alliances. I didn't encounter the concept of hanging out, of spending time with someone for the sake of it, until my collateral years. But I can count over 30 Wers, hanging around the lakefront, grilling, eating, swimming, laughing. The loudest are the children. I spot several, Honor among them, having a rollicking good time. I wonder whether I'm invited to partake. What the reaction would be if I made my way downstairs, waved at the guests. I could borrow a bikini from Juno, pour myself some blood on the rocks, sit at a table in the shade, ask my dinner companions, so how about them football players? The idea has me chuckling. I settle on the windowsill, still in my pajama shorts and the worn tank I got from a team-building exercise at work 2 years ago, staring at the gathering. And at Lowe, who has returned home. My eyes are immediately drawn to him, maybe because he's, well, big. Most Wers are tall or athletic or both, but Lowe takes it a notch further. Still, I'm not positive his looks are what center him so insistently. He is, not charming, but magnetic. His full lips curve into a small smile while he chats with some pack members. His dark brows furrow as he listens to others. The corners of his eyes split into a web of crinkles when he plays with the children. He lets a young girl beat him at arm wrestling, gasps in mock pain when another pretends to punch him on his biceps, shoots a boy into the deep water to his unabashed delight. He seems beloved, accepted, belonging, and I wonder what that feels like. I wonder if he misses his partner or mate or whatever. I wonder if he gets to draw much these days, or if the pretty houses mostly stay locked in his head. He definitely does not look like he is just recovering from being ill, but what do I know? I'm no pulmonologist. I'm about to push myself off the sill and start my night when I spot him. Max. He's separate from the rest of the crowd, on the outskirts of the beach, where the sand first turns into shrubs, then thickens with forest trees. At first glance, I don't think much of it. Unlike most of the partygoers, he's wearing a long-sleeved shirt and jeans, but hey. I've been a self-conscious teen before, trying to hide with clothes the way I'd shot up about 6 inches in 3 months. And melanoma is evil, according to Serena. But then he goes on his knees, begins to chat with someone much shorter than him, and my entire body stiffens. I tell myself that there's no reason to be scowling the way I am. Max and I may have had our difference, one if major, but he has every right to be interacting with Anna. For all I know, they're related, and he's been babysitting her since she was in diapers. Not my business, anyway. I'm a very unwanted guest here, and I have my daily hour-long bath to take. Except something pulls me back to the window. I don't like it. The way he's talking to Anna, pointing at someplace I cannot see, someplace between the trees. Anna shakes her head no, but he seems to insist and... Am I being paranoid? Probably. Anna's literal brother is right there, a few dozen feet away, watching her. But he is. He's playing something with the ginger best man, Cal, his name is Cal, and a few other people. Bocce, if I recognize the game from Serena's bowling variants period, and boy, do wers and humans have things in common. Father might be right to fear an alliance between them. Still, this doesn't concern me, and... Max's hand takes Anna's, pulling her toward the woods, and my brain short-circuits. Mick's on duty, and I barge out of my room barefoot, meaning to warn him. But his chair is empty, save for a used plate with some traces of coleslaw on it. He's probably in the restroom, and I consider looking for him there. Then decide there's no time. A couple of stray neural cells lurch awake to point out that this is the perfect time for me to break into Lowe's office and search for intel on Serena. The remaining 99% of my brain, sadly, is focused on Anna. God, I hate that I care. I dash down the stairs, then outside via the kitchen. The heat crashes into me like a wave, slowing me down as the sunlight stabs my skin like a million little shark teeth. Fuck, it hurts. It's way too bright for me to be out. A couple of wers see me, but no one notices me. Little jagged stones dig painfully into the soles of my feet, but I power through, heading for the forest. By the time I've reached the woods, my flesh is burning, I'm limping, and I've almost lost my balance twice, courtesy of a pile of sand buckets and an arm floaty. But I see Anna's bright blue swimsuit amid the green, the dark gray of Max's shirt, and yell, "Hey!" I wade through the thick of the trees. "Hey, stop!" Max keeps on walking, but Anna turns, sees me, and grins, gap-toothed and delighted. Her heartbeat is sweet and happy. Misery. Not my name, we've been over this. Yo, Max, where are you taking her? He must recognize my voice because he halts, and when he looks at me, his face is pure hatred. What are you doing here? I live here. Fairly sure pine needles are burrowing inside my skin. Also, I might be in flames. What are you doing with a 6-year-old in the middle of the forest? 7. Anna corrects me cheerfully, letting go of Max's hand and holding up 6 fingers, and damn this child. Anna, come with me. I offer her my hand, and she happily trots my way, arms open as though she means to hug me. Yikes. My heart sinks when Max scoops her up and starts carrying her in the opposite direction. What the hell are you? That's when several things happen at once. Anna thrashes around and screams. I charge at Max, ready to free her, ready to tear him to shreds with my fangs. And about a dozen wers jump out of the trees surrounding us. Chapter 8. It would be easier if he didn't like her as a person. Is it a vampire thing, shoving your pointy little fangs into other people's business and ruining their plans? Or is it more of a Misery Lark passion project? I've been nursing my abused souls on the living room couch for less than 5 minutes, but it's the 3rd time a variation of this question has been asked of me. So I keep my head bent down and ignore Lowe's second, the one who looks like a Ken doll, as I pluck an assortment of detritus from my toe. I need tweezers, but I didn't bring any with me. Do wers use them? As the original furries, do they find them morally repugnant? Maybe they hold body hair sacred, and any threat to its rightful dwelling on the flesh is considered blasphemous. Food for thought. Let me go, Max whines. Like me, he's sitting on a couch. Unlike me, his hands are tied behind his back, and he's being watched by several guards with the kind of icy treatment one would reserve for someone who tried to kidnap a child. Which is exactly what Max did. You can stop asking, Cal tells him mildly, because it ain't going to happen. Out of all the wers in here, it's clear that he and Ken Doll are the highest ranking. They also appear to have a bad cop, even worse cop thing going on. Cal is affably scary, Ken is snarkily terrifying. Whatever works for them, I guess. I want to see my mother, Max rewinds. Do you, champ? Are you sure? Because your mother is out there, humiliated by what you just did and the company you've been keeping. I dunno, Cal. Ken fixes his baseball cap. Maybe we should turn him over to his mother. He leans forward. I'd love to see his face when she declaws him. Max growls, but it turns into a whimper when his alpha comes in, Juno and Mick in tow. I mouth a bashful so sorry to Mick, worried that he'll get in trouble for taking a piss and leaving me alone for a minute. He waves his hand at me, and the entire room drops into silence, everyone focusing on Lowe like his presence is a gravitational pull. Even I cannot look anywhere else and abandon my toe to its infected destiny. Lowe looks so stone-cold pissed, I shiver, though it could be the blast of the AC on my blistering flesh. Is Anna okay? Gemma asks. Lowe nods, playing with Misha. Hands on his hips, he surveys the room. Every pair of eyes is instantly downcast. Except for mine. Who wants to tell me what the fuck just happened? He asks, staring at me. I expect everyone to explode into rushed explanations, but word discipline is better than that. A heavy silence stretches, broken only by Lowe coming to stand in front of me. I'm ready to say my final words, but all he does is take off his zip-up hoodie, wrap it around my shuddery shoulders, then admire the result for a beat too long. Everyone's eyes are still on the ground. Cal, he says. It's embarrassing, the sense of relief I feel at not being called on. Everything was going according to plan, Cal starts. As expected, Max was trying to lure Honor away. We were tailing him to see who he would rendezvous with when. He turns to me, and suddenly I am the center of the room. My relief was premature. I'm sorry, I swallow. I had no idea this was some kind of Kahudi ambushy plan. If I see a guy who's been a total dick to me absconding with a child, it's only natural for me to. To what? Why did I intervene again? Now that the adrenaline has dried up, I cannot recall what my reasoning was. I'm no hero, nor do I want to be. Ken Doll snorts. Were you watching us from the window? I mean, yeah. Creepy, you need a hobby. You're right, I've heard amazing things about paragliding or competitive duck herding. Maybe I could. Oh, wait. I forgot that I'm literally stuck in a 130-square-foot bedroom 24/7. Read a book, Pointy. Enough. Lowe stalks across the room to crouch in front of Max, who instantly tries to scramble away. His tone is firm but surprisingly gentle when he asks, Where were you going to take Anna? Max doesn't reply, so he continues, You are 15, and I'm not going to punish you like an adult. I don't know who you got mixed up with or how, but I can help you. I will protect you. Sweat trickles down Max's temples. He's much younger than I thought. You're just going to get rid of me. If I tell you, you. I do not hurt my own, especially not children, Lowe growls. I am not Roscoe. No, Max's eyes flick to me. He'd never have made alliances with the vampires or the humans, would never have taken one in and left her to kill the Wers. You're right, Roscoe liked to kill the Wers on his own. Max lowers his eyes. He's just a boy. Is an alliance with the vampires really worse than more were deaths at their hands? Max seems to grapple with the question, Adam's apple bobbing. Then he remembers his rage and spurts out, You're not the rightful alpha. It's clearly a big faux pas, because every other Wer in the room takes a step forward to intervene, and then stops at once at Lowe's lifted hand. Who told you that? He asks, menacing, ruthless. Maybe it's a fair mistake. Maybe they simply weren't there when Roscoe lost the challenge to me. I sent a message to the loyals, let them know that I'd gladly accept the challenge from any of them. And yet, Lowe stands. Dissent and discussion are welcome. I'm not Roscoe, and I won't dispose of those who disagree with me. But trying to take a child, sabotage important infrastructure, brutally attack huddles who support me, this is violent insurgence. And as long as I'm alpha of this pack, I'm not going to accept it. Who sent you here, Max? He shakes his head. I don't know. Did you forget? Ken Doll comes to stand next to Lowe. Max recoils. We have ways of making you remember. He's barely more than a child, though, Cal points out. He chose to work with the loyals, Ken says, cracking his knuckles. Cal, to my shock, shrugs. I suppose you're right. He, too, cracks his knuckles. I search Lowe's face for a sign that he's not going to let his minions. I don't know, waterboard a boy. His expression is detached, happy to delegate. Not what I'd expect from someone who's planning on de-escalating this. Wait, I yell. Today must be a particularly nosy day for me. Don't hurt him, I can help you. All heads whip around to me, with varying degrees of annoyance. I think you've done enough, Leech, Ken says. I roll my eyes. First of all, I grew up among the humans, and leech, parasite, sanguisuge, blood sponge, tick, sucker, bat bitch. They're not the groundbreaking insults you think they are. Vampires do drink blood to survive, and we're not shy about it. I can find out who sent Max without nail pulling or whatever you're planning. I dunno, Cal says. He deserves some harm. But Max is shaking like a leaf, and I must not be the sadist I fancied myself. Please, I plead to Lowe, tuning out the rest of the room. I can help. How? He, for one, seems more curious than irritated. It's easier done than said. Here. I stand and brush past him to go to Max. He stops me with his fingers on my wrist. When I crane my neck up to him, startled, he's looking straight ahead. Why? He asks without meeting my eyes. His voice is low, meant only for me. I'm not quite sure what he wants to know, so I go for what feels right. Anna has been visiting, I say, matching his tone. She keeps me company, and even though she's terrible at pronouncing my name and clearly doesn't know whether she's 6 or 7, I swallow. I'd rather she doesn't get, kidnapped and trafficked. He finally looks down at me, scans my face for several long moments, and whatever his inspection is about, I must pass muster. He nods and lets go of me. I don't move. Actually, could you help me? I'm not super good at this. His brows furrow, and I hasten to add, but good enough. I think I've only done this with Serena, who insisted I foster my single useful vampire trait and practice on her. She'd have me put her under and use our shared cell phone to film videos of her making out with a cabbage, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance with a German accent, confessing to an entire series of dirty dreams with Mr. Lumiere, our French tutor, as the recurring guest star. Hopefully, I remember how to. I kneel in front of Max, ignoring his nauseating, fear-drenched heartbeat, the way he hisses at me to get away. Dude, I'm trying to help you avoid an iron chair, or however it is that your people extract information, so. Something wet lands on the front of my tank top. Because Max spit on me. You, I gasp, disgusted, but before I can, I don't know, spit back. Lowe's hand presses against Max's chest and pins him to the couch. What the fuck did you just do? He grunts. She's a vampire. She's Lowe's hand jerks up to clutch Max's jaw. Apologize to my wife. Sorry, please don't, I'm sorry. Max starts sobbing. Lowe turns to me. Do you accept? Accept the spit. His apology. Oh my God, what is happening? Sure, why not? It was so sincere and spontaneous. Just hold his head still and don't let him move. Yes, hands on the chin. Okay, this will take a second, don't let him wiggle away. I start with my thumb at the base of Max's nose and my index and forefingers on his forehead. Then I wait for Max to calm down and meet my eyes. At the 4th attempt, I get a lock. Max's brain is soft and overagitated and easy to sink into. I stitch his mind to mine and then scramble it a little, a temporary interference. I don't stop until I'm extra sure that my hold on him is tight, and when I pull back, his body relaxes at once, pupils suddenly blown wider. Behind me, I hear some murmurs and a soft, what the fuck? But it's easy to push it out, just as easy as it is to let my eyes do what they're supposed to. For the thrall, humans say that we have magical mind control powers, that our souls can body snatch theirs and tie them up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Much like everything else, though, it's simple biology. An additional intraocular muscle that allows us to shift our eyes at high speed and induce a hypnotic state. Vampires who are talented thrallers, like my father, can do it without touching their victim at all, and much more quickly. But they are rare, and for the mediocre ones like me, who need someone to be restrained to initiate a thrall, it can be an unwieldy practice. There are some caveats, too. The thrall only works on other species, and not every brain is equally responsive. And of course, entering people's minds without consent is an act of violence and deeply unethical. Just because we can, it doesn't mean that we should. But Max did try to hurt Anna, and he might do it again. Plus, my morals are just not that solid. Okay, I lean back, vigorously rubbing my eyes. The thrall requires a lot of energy. He's all yours. Everyone stares at me open-mouthed, and my mind might be playing tricks, but I'm almost positive that they've all taken a step back from me. Except for Lowe, who's almost too close. You guys might want to hurry. This will only last 10 minutes or so. I point at Max's state of unresponsive stupor. He won't just word salad his life story at you. You need to go ahead and ask him questions. No one speaks. Did I accidentally thrall them too? Something like, why were you trying to take Anna, Max? I was tasked to take her to the Loyals, where she could be used as leverage, to force Lowe to step down as Alpha, he recites tonelessly. The room explodes in a flurry of panicky, suspicious mutters that have nothing to do with Max's answer. In fact, I'm pretty sure I catch a microwaved his brain. The thrall, Lowe murmurs. Yup, that's it, no deep frying involved. I stand and grimace at the spit on my shirt. It's starting to seep through, gross. I thought it was a myth, Cal whispers, that our elders used to scare us. I can relate, since I grew up fairly sure that if I misbehaved, a were would crawl up the toilet to eat my ass. It's not. I'm not really good at this, actually. It seems best not to disclose what someone like Father could do. You look plenty good to me, Cal says. He actually sounds admiring, while Ken is glaring suspiciously, and Mick frowns, and Gemma shakes her head, and some others exchange looks, and Juno seems, as ever, worried and angry and low. I've given up on understanding Lowe. How do we know you're not planting lies in his head? Ken asks. I shrug, ask him something I wouldn't know. What happened when you asked Mary Lakes out for a date? Juno says. She said no, Max drones. Why? Because I had a huge blob of snot coming out of my nose. It's funny, but no one laughs. The group seems to have gotten over the initial incredulity, and Cal starts grilling Max. Did Roscoe's mate send you to take Anna? I believe so, even though I did not talk to Emery directly. Cal shakes his head. Of fucking course. Stop! Lowe interrupts, and the room falls silent again. He turns to me. My breath catches as his arm reaches inside the hoodie he put on me. His palm briefly fits on my waist, then moves north to brush against my breast, and oh my God, what? He slides his phone out of the inside pocket and pulls back. My cheeks are on fire. Take her to her room, then come back, he orders Mick. To Juno, check on Anna, please. I'm escorted out. I must really be at my most busybody because I'm tempted to ask if I can stay. Figure out what this strange war within the Wers could be about. Instead, I meekly follow Mick up the stairs. I hope I didn't get you in trouble, I tell him. But I saw Max take Anna, and I know you guys don't believe me, but he'd attacked me, so. No one doubted you, he says kindly. I look at him. Lowe sure did. Lowe knew Max had attacked you first. He is very good at smelling lies. Oh, as in, literally smelling. Mick nods but doesn't elaborate. He knew Max was up to something, knew it had to do with Anna, and wanted to get as much information as he could out of him. It's a tightrope to walk for Lowe. He won't go about interrogating every person he doesn't like, or he'll be the same as Roscoe was toward the end. But the Loyals have been hurting their own, and they must be stopped. He sure seemed ready to let the others torture Max. That was a show meant to scare Max, and it would have worked, we could all smell it, but you did make it easier with your... He smiles and gestures at my eyes. Just promise you won't do it to me, okay? You were scary in there. I would never. You're my most beloved jailer. I smile, close-lipped and fangless. Besides, I'm the one who should be scared. Why? I point to the scar on his neck, the row of teeth marking his collarbone. You're the one rolling in here with that, like your favorite pastime is getting into fights. I cock my head. Is that how you turned into a were? His eyebrow quirks. We're a legitimate species, not an infectious disease. Just making sure that if someone bites me, I won't turn into you. If you bit someone, would it turn them into a vampire? I think about it for a moment. Touché. He laughs softly and shakes his head, suddenly wistful. This is my mate's bite. Mate, the word again. Do they have one too, your mate? Yes, of course. Have I met them? He looks away. She's not with us anymore. Oh, I swallow, unsure what to say. I hope it wasn't one of my people who did it. I'm sorry. It sounds like mates are a big deal. He nods. Mating bonds are the core of every pack, but I don't think it's wise for me to discuss work customs with you. He gives me a look that manages to be chiding and soft all at once, especially if you're chatting with your brother in a language no one else speaks. Oh shit, it's not. I just missed home, wanted to hear something familiar. We come to a halt in front of my door. Mick opens it and gestures for me to step inside. How curious. You don't strike me as the type who ever had a home. I let his words churn around me for several minutes after he leaves, wondering whether he's right. When they grind to a stop, I know he isn't. I did have a home, and her name was Serena. I change my top into one less smeared with Max's DNA and silently slip out of my room. With everyone distracted by the commotion, breaking into Lowe's office is almost suspiciously easy. There are plenty of ways to hack into a computer, few of which are at my disposal. Fortunately, I have enough experience with brute force techniques to be optimistic. The sun is setting, but I don't turn on the lights. Lowe's desk is given away by Anna's grinning picture. I tiptoe there, kneel in front of the keyboard, and start messing around. This is not my bread and butter, but it's relatively simple and not too time-consuming. It's clear that the words don't expect intrusions from within, and the machine is mostly unprotected. It only takes me a few minutes to force my way into their database, and a handful more to set up 3 parallel searches. Serena Paris, the date she disappeared, and the Herald, in case my suspicions are right, and Lowe was part of some story she meant to cover. It's just a start, but I hope that if she was mentioned on any communication device that's automatically backed up on. Something soft rubs against my calf. Not now, I murmur, distractedly swatting Serena's damn fucking cat away. The terminal starts to populate with hits. I stroke a few keys to maximize. So far, not too promising. The cat's wet nose presses against my thigh. I'm busy, sparkles or whatever. Go play with Anna. He starts purring. No, growling. Frankly, it's a level of entitlement that pisses me off. I told you to. I glance down and instantly scramble back, nearly falling on my ass. In the dim light of dusk, the yellow eyes of a gray wolf stare angrily at me. Chapter 9. Anna interrupts her bedtime story to communicate to him important, time-sensitive information. Myrcy is so pretty. I loove her ears. He presses his lips together before resuming his reading. Among the vampires, fangs are not just teeth, they are status. Take muscles in humans. Was there a time, a bunch of millennia ago, in which having a mate with inflated, bouncy biceps meant more protection from the dinosaurs? I'm no history buff. I thrived in math and 0 other subjects. The point is, athletic prowess provided an evolutionary advantage that's now, in an era in which atomic bombs exist, fairly obsolete. And yet, humans still find it attractive. Canines are much the same for vampires. They're considered a symbol of strength and power, because in the olden days we'd hunt our prey and sink our teeth into their flesh to feast on their blood. The longer, the sharper, the bigger, the better. And this wolf's fangs could win contests, rule civilizations, get their owner engaged, married, and very much laid at any vampire party, and they could shred me into M&Ms. Are you an actual wolf? I ask, fighting to keep my voice steady. Or are you a were who part-times? The only reply is a deep, long, panties-shitting growl. Would it make things better or worse if I growled back? Wouldn't change it either way, a voice says from the entrance. Lowe, leaning against the frame, relaxed like a loungewear model during a photo shoot. Thank you, Cal, he says, coming my way. That will be all. And magically, with one last half-hearted snarl in my direction, The wolf shakes its beautiful gray fur and trots away. It stops by Lowe and butts its head against his thigh. Cal, as in? He turns to me and I stare at his face, looking for similarities. I'd have expected consistency between Wer's shifted and human forms, but Cal's a redhead. I crane my neck to get a better look at the wolf, but Lowe steps in front of me, blocking my view. What the fuck are you doing, wife? He sounds like a volatile mix of tired and irritated. Any thought of Wer phenotypes instantly departs. I just got caught, doing something very bad, and I'm in real danger. Just looking for, what, sticky notes? Do vampires keep sticky notes inside their computers? Fuck, I was trying to check my email. I swallow. Get in touch with friends. You don't have friends, Misery. I'm not sure why this hurts when it's true. And I'm very much not an IT person, but that, he points at my code, which is still crunching along, does not look like Yahoo. Yahoo! Lowe, you're really dating yourself here. Come in, he orders, and I cannot comprehend how I didn't notice Alex idling by the door. Too busy contemplating my imminent demise, probably. Can you figure out what she was doing? On it. I scrunch my eyes shut, running possible scenarios in my head. I could knee Lowe in the groin and try to run away, but I don't know if the crotch area is as sensitive to them as it is to us, and anyway, there are wolves prowling around. You set me up, I say. It comes out whiny, which is exactly how I feel. You asked Mick to leave right in front of me because you knew I'd take advantage of it. Misery. He clucks his tongue, chiding, and moves closer, like he knows I'm considering darting away. His heartbeat envelops me, steady, determined. You set yourself up because you're bad at this. At what? Snooping around. I wasn't. Why did you go to my room? Why did you look through my closet and my drawers? He leans forward. His voice drops to a half-whisper, meant only for my ears. There's something tortured to it, like he's in physical pain. Why did my bed smell like you slept in it? It hadn't even occurred to me that I'd leave my scent behind. That Lowe would find my smell stuck to every surface of his room. Fuck. Sorry, I breathe out. You should be, he says to the air between our lips. I wonder if my heart has ever beaten this loud before, this close to the surface of my skin. She very astutely, I must say, and with only very primitive tools at her disposal, hacked into our servers, Alex announces, a little admiringly, which is flattering. Are you the one who built the Wer's firewall? I ask. Yup, I'm the leader of our security team. He sounds distracted as he combs through my code. Whatever fear he had when we were alone doesn't hold if his alpha's present. Nice job. Weird, how I'm having a conversation with Alex but staring up into Lowe's eyes, about an inch from mine. It's pretty impenetrable. Thank you. Are you, by any chance, the same person who tried to smash it down a few weeks ago? I swallow. Lowe's eyes drift down to my throat, linger there. Can't remember. Alpha, she was running a search of our databases. 3 searches, to be precise. One for a date a little over 2 months ago, one for the Herald, a local human newspaper, I believe, and one for someone called Serena Paris. A wave of dread sweeps over me. There is no air in the world left for my lungs. And who would that be? Lowe murmurs, licking his lips. He inhales me deeply, purposefully. How interesting. In the past week, I've witnessed 2 attempts on your life, and you've never smelled as scared as you do just now. Why Vampyre? His stark face is all sharp lines, sculpted by the glowing lights of the monitor. His lips move, full and ruthless. I cannot look away. Who is Serena Paris, Misery? He sounds sincerely curious, and I wonder if maybe he has nothing to do with her disappearance. But maybe he does. Maybe he's pretending. Maybe he didn't know her name but hurt her anyway. I push against his chest. It's like trying to move an army of mountains. Let me go. Misery. His eyes bore into mine. You know I'm not going to do that. Alex, he says, louder this time, still looking only at me. Bring back Cal. It looks like we're going to have to extract Gabai and break the armistice with the vampires. I overhear a hushed, yes, Alpha. Boots leave the room as I sputter. What? I have to consider this as an act of aggression on behalf of your father and the rest of the Vampyre Council. They sent a plant into our territory under the guise of collateral. His jaw hardens. And your scent, they tampered with it, didn't they? They knew it would distract me. No, I'm crowded, breathless. This has nothing to do with my father. Who were you planning to send this information to? No one. Ask Alex to check. I didn't set up any transmissions. He shifts closer. I can almost taste his blood on my tongue. Alex isn't here anymore. I knew we were alone, but now I feel it, just as I feel his warmth seeping through me. The heat has a predictable effect. My stomach twists and tightens. Hunger, cravings. I told you I was just messing around. This is not a game, Misery. They vibrate through my bones, his words. This alliance is new and frail and... Stop it, just stop it. I press my hands against his chest, begging for some space because my head is spinning, full of warm, heated, odd thoughts that involve veins and necks and taste. Please, please don't do anything. This has nothing to do with the alliance. Okay. He moves a step back, palms still leaning against the wall on each side of my head, and it's a relief. His blood was starting to smell really good, and nothing like that has ever happened to me. I must have forgotten to feed. Okay, he repeats. Here are your options. First, you tell me who Serena Paris is and give me a reasonable explanation for this very poorly executed cloak and dagger quest. What happens to you next is my choice. Second, I proceed with the assumption you are a spy gathering intel on the Wers and use your corpse to send a clear message to your father. Serena was my friend, I blurt out. My sister. Lowe's entire body tenses, like he had some guesses, but my answer was not among them. A vampire, then. I shake my head. Human, but we grew up together. In my first few months as the collateral, I was disruptive and sad. I tried to run away, put myself in dangerous situations, once I even. It was just me and the human caregivers, and they hated me. So the humans decided that the company of another child might make me more well-behaved. They found an orphan my age and brought her in to live with me. He huffs bitter, and I'm afraid he might not believe me. But then he says, calm and yet not, fucking humans. I swallow. They did their best, at least they tried. Not enough. It's a definite kind of judgment, which I don't care to argue with. Serena is gone. She vanished a few weeks ago, and... You think a word took her. I nod. Who? I have no choice but to tell him the truth, and if he has anything to do with her disappearance, he'll have something to do with mine, too. You. He seems unsurprised. Why me? You tell me. I lift my chin. Your name was in her planner on the day she disappeared. Maybe she made plans to meet you. Maybe you were part of a story she was writing. I don't know. A story? Ah, that's why the Herald, she was a journalist. It's not a question, but I nod. Finally, Lowe pulls back. He remains between me and the door, but he rubs his hands across the stubble on his jaw, frowning somewhere in the distance, instantly preoccupied, trying to recall. If he's faking the confusion, he's a good actor. And I cannot begin to guess why he'd lie to me. I'm stuck here for the next year, with limited and highly supervised ways to communicate with the outside world. He could admit to running 5 drug cartels and hijacking Air Force One, and I'd have no way to warn anyone. It's a huge gamble. He searches my face, pensive, a little like he's seeing me for the first time. Giving yourself as collateral, marrying me, all because someone wrote my name in her planner. I bite my lower lip. My stomach sinks at the idea that he might really not know anything. My only trail, leading to a ravine. My best friend, my sister, is gone, and no one will look for her if I don't. And the only thing she left behind, the only clue I have is a name, your name, L.E. Moreland. Lowe, the door bursts open. I expect Alex or Cal or an entire pack of rabid wolves coming to butcher me. Not a plaintive, "Where were you?" followed by the soft shuffle of socked steps on the hardwood floor. I'm instantly forgotten. Lowe drops to his knees to greet Anna, and when she wraps her slim arms around his neck, his large hand comes up to cradle her head. I was talking to Misery. She waves up at me. Hi, Myersey. My throat feels full. My name is not that hard to pronounce, I mumble, but she seems to revel in my glare, and to be in high spirits despite her attempted kidnapping. I applaud her resilience, but wow, children, they're truly unfathomable. Will you read me a story before bed? She asks low. Of course, love. He pushes a strand of still wet hair behind her ear. Go brush your teeth, Anna, where did you go? Juno's voice drifts in from the hallway, harried out of breath. Anna. Did you run away from Juno? Lowe whispers. Anna nods, mischievous. Then you better hurry back to her. She pouts, but I want to. Liliana Esther Moreland. Come here at once, it's an order. Anna stamps a kiss on Lowe's cheek, mutters something delighted about how prickly it is, and then slips out in a flurry of blue and pink fabric. My eyes stay with her, and then on the ajar door long after she disappears. Dizzy. I feel dizzy. Misery. I turn to Lowe. Anna. I swallow, because no, that's not the right question. Instead, Liliana. He nods. Esther, L.E. Moreland. I had no idea. Lowe nods again, eyes somber. Misery, you and I need to talk. Chapter 10. He is not reckless, or negligent, or quick to trust, but he recognizes a formidable ally when he sees one. Many rooms in the house would be perfectly adequate for a discreet conversation, but we find ourselves sitting at the kitchen table, a mug of black coffee in front of Lowe, steadily steaming as the sun outside struggles to rise. My night was sleepless, like most. His, too, going by the dark shadows under his eyes. His face is etched, as carvingly beautiful as usual. He hasn't shaved in a while, and it's clear that he could use some rest and a 2-week stretch without a coup. I have the sneaking suspicion he's not going to get either. I couldn't figure out why you'd accepted, he tells me between sips, almost conversationally. Every other interaction we've had has been fraught with tension, on the heels of him catching me in compromising situations. Now, we're not fast friends, but I wonder if this is Lowe when his energies are not fully focused on trying to protect his pack. A steady, reassuring, bulky presence. His mouth even twitched into an almost smile when he saw me make my way down the stairs, as he gestured for me to take a seat across from him. Why you do it again? You thought I had a martyrdom complex. I hug my legs to my chest, watching his lips as they close around the rim of his mug. I have no allegiance to the vampires, or the humans with a single exception, and I'm going to find her. He sets the mug on the table and asks, bluntly, You're sure she is alive? I hope she is. My heart twists. If she isn't, I still need to know what happened to her. If I don't, no one else will think of her again. No one else will even know her name aside from a handful of orphans who bullied her for being cross-eyed, colleagues who never got her sense of humor, people she dated but felt tepid about. It's not acceptable. She'd do the same for me. Lowe nods without hesitation. Loyalty, I suspect, is a painfully familiar concept to him. Do you know what article she was writing? What prompted her interest in Anna? No. She usually talked about the stories she was working on, at least in passing, and she covered financial stuff. Crimes. Sometimes, mostly market analysis. Her degree was in economics. Lowe taps his finger on the edge of the table, mulling. Anything on we're human or vampire-human relationships. She'd grown up as the collateral's baby companion. She wasn't touching that shit with a 10-foot pole. Smart. He stands, goes to the no-blood fridge. His broad shoulders shrink the kitchen as he gathers a few items that he carries back to the table. A jar of peanut butter that has my most nefarious interests perk up. Sliced bread. Some kind of berry jelly that just stumps me. Serena loved berries, and I tried memorizing their names, but they're so counterintuitive. Blueberries, not blue, blackberries, not black, strawberries, straw-free, raspberries, do not rasp or make any noise at all. I could go on. I want to have a look at her communications prior to disappearing. You still have access to them. I do, and have inspected them, no clues. He takes out 2 slices of bread. His forearms are strong, large muscles interrupted by the occasional white scar. If where business is involved, You might not know what you're looking for. I'll have you talk with Alex and hand them over to. Hey, I shift and tuck my legs under me. I'm not turning over anything until you tell me what you would be looking for. His eyebrow lifts. You're not in a negotiating position, Misery. Neither are you. The eyebrow lifts higher. Okay, maybe more than I am. But if we're doing this, I need to know what's in it for you, because I highly doubt you suddenly care about my random human friend enough to help me find her. He's good at staring with those Arctic eyes without saying anything, and I squirm in my chair, heated. How does this guy make someone with a basal temperature of 94 degrees and next to no sweat glands feel clammy? It's about Anna, right? You think Serena was looking for Anna? More staring, Mistral with a hint of assessment. Listen, it's obvious that you want to figure out why a human knew of your sister's existence, and I'm not asking you to trust me. I think I will, though, he finally says, decisive, and then starts spreading peanut butter on the bread, like he's settled an important matter and now needs a snack. You will. Trust you. I don't get it. No, his expression is not tender but approaching, kind, amused for sure. I reckon you wouldn't. I was just proposing we trade information. And you could do many horrible things with the information I'm about to give you. But you've been in Anna's shoes before, and you're hurt because you ran to help her when the sun hadn't set yet. Lowe points at the reddened skin of my right arm and hands me an ice pack. He must have retrieved it earlier from the freezer, and it feels really, really good. Misguided as you were, I doubt you'd throw Anna under the bus. No more misguided than using her as bait. Nice parenting there, by the way, I add, a bit archly. There were 8 wers monitoring the situation, he says, unoffended, and a tracker in her suit. Max had no vehicle at his disposal, so we knew he was going to attempt to hand off Anna to someone else. She was never in any real danger. Sure, I shrug, pretending I don't care. And children are soft and adaptable and make for perfect pawns in the power plays of great leaders, right? I can only protect Anna if I know where the threats against her are coming from. He leans forward across the table. The scent of his blood is like a wave lapping at my skin. I'm not like your father, Misery. My throat is suddenly dry. Well, you're wrong. I would throw Anna under the bus if I had to choose between her and Serena. I have priorities, very little heart, and find no pleasure in being deceitful when others are being honest with me. Anna might be growing on me, but she wasn't the one who slept next to me for a whole week when I was 14 and gave myself seizures by trying to file off my fangs for the first time, with a cheese grater. Yeah, he doesn't sound like he believes me. Hopefully it won't come to that. I don't think it will, I agree, and it makes sense for us to collaborate, as Anna's brother and Serena's sister. His eyes meet mine, serious and unsettling, not as husband and wife. Because we're that too, even if it's disturbingly easy to forget. I glance away, landing on a dollop of peanut butter on the rim of the jar. It's the variety without the crunchy bits, which, yeah. I set down my ice pack and lean back in my chair, as far away from it as possible. She'll be 7 next month, by the way, he tells me. She's just better at lying with words than with her fingers. Are her parents, where are they? There is an infinitesimal stutter in his movement, and he sets down the jelly jar. Mother's dead. Father's somewhere in human territory. There are wers in human territory. Lowe's jaw tenses. This, Misery, is where I'm taking a leap of faith. My heart goes wooden. A memory flashes. My first day alone among the humans, after Father and Vania and the rest of the vampire convoy had left. The terrifying smell of their blood, their odd sounds, the weird beings crowding around me. Knowing I was the only member of my species for miles and miles. I don't want it for her. I don't want it for anyone. Is Anna human? A collateral. He shakes his head. I'm flooded with relief. Okay, she's were, then why? I stop. Because Lowe shakes his head again. I know what vampires smell like, what their needs and limitations are. And Anna is not one of us, which leaves one single other possibility. No, I say. Lowe says nothing. His knife clinks against the side of the plate, and he crosses his arms on his chest. His expression remains anchored in a way that makes me utterly unhinged. It's not possible. No, not both. Why is he silent? Why is he not correcting me? Genetically, it's not, is it? Apparently. How? There are so many levels of impossibility here, that a human and a were would even want to engage in what's necessary to produce a child, that it would work physically, that it would have consequences. Wers may not struggle as much as vampires, but their reproductive rates are still lower than humans. I shoot to my feet in a spurt of nervous, incredulous energy, immediately sit down again when my abused souls protest. But she's related to you, isn't she? The eyes. My mother's eyes, he nods. She was one of Roscoe's seconds, overseeing the woods between were and human territories. Officially, under Roscoe's rule, there were no diplomatic relationships. In practice, very limited agreements with humans were constantly being negotiated, especially in high-conflict areas. I believe that's how she first met Anna's father, but I wasn't around at the time. He sounds regretful, and I remember the pretty house drawings, the only locked space in his room. He's not your father, is he? My father was a were, and he died when I was a child. I'm not going to ask if my people were involved in that, because I'm sure I know the answer. Why are you telling me this? He is silent for a while, eyes downcast. It's not until I follow his gaze that I realize he's staring at our wedding band on his ring finger. You know what makes alphas good leaders? He asks without looking up. No clue. He huffs out a laugh. Neither do I, but at times, there are decisions that feel right deep in the marrow of my bones. He wets his lips. You are one of them. Blood rushes to my cheeks, hot. There's no way Lowe misses it, which is mortifying. I'm just grateful that he chooses to continue without mentioning it. I was living in Europe when my mother was injured, but immediately flew back. When it became obvious that she might not make a recovery, she told me about Anna's biological father. Her human biological father. Inconceivable. I thought she was delirious because of the drugs, or just mistaken. I tilt my head. What changed? There are things about Anna. Things that had me taking what my mother said as more than some morphine-induced delusion. Like what? For one, Anna doesn't shift. Oh, should she already? A were child would. In fact, during the full moon, they'd have trouble not shifting. Her blood is a deep red instead of green. At the same time, she has were traits. She's more agile, stronger than a human. Her vitals are all over the place. After my mother passed, and very discreetly, I had her DNA tested. Juno is a geneticist, and she was able to help. He picks up the knife again, slathers more jelly. The peanut butter jar is still there, open. At the time, Roscoe was the alpha. It was easy to predict what he'd do if he found out that he had a half-human in his pack. Roscoe was not a fan, huh? He gives me an understatement of the decade look. And she was the sister of the dude who smelled like he was gonna steal his job, I murmur without thinking. I notice Lowe's surprise. What? I know things. Roscoe was never a peaceful alpha, but in the past few years, his positions gradually escalated to extreme aggression. He demanded control of certain demilitarized zones and began enforcing zero-tolerance policies. We killed more humans and vampires in the last decade than we did in the previous 5, and they killed more of us. That's when several of his seconds began to openly disagree with him. Their dissent was met with another ramp-up of violence. This time last year, more wers were dying at the hands of other wers than any other species. My mother was one of them. His lips pressed together. I came home, challenged Roscoe, and won. His 4 most loyal seconds challenged me, and I won again. There were others weaker, and it felt so wasteful too. He rubs his jaw with his palm. His thinking gesture I'm starting to realize. It was my mistake. I shouldn't have let them live. I study him, wondering if he ever wanted to be alpha in the first place. Wondering how I'd feel, leading thousands of people without feeling a true calling to it. At least Father thrives on the high-stakes life of politics and subterfuge and petty pissing matches against the other councilmen. Let me guess. The ones you defeated but left alive rebranded themselves as the Loyals and have been radicalizing young Maxes like it's their birthday. He nods. It's a small group, but they're willing to stoop much lower than I can afford to. And they have the blessing and leadership of Emery, Roscoe's mate. She denies it, of course, and she's a smart enough player to avoid having the recent attacks traced back to her, but we have intel. If it were me, I'd borrow a page from their beloved Roscoe and deal with dissent his way. His mouth curves infinitesimally, like he's tempted to do just that, and I smile, too. Our eyes hold for a beat before he continues. Anna doesn't know who her real father is. Who does she think? Vincent. He was another of Roscoe's seconds, and he and my mother were in an on-and-off relationship for years. He was attacked in Vampyre territory when Anna was about 1 year old. The rest of the pack are also under the impression, heavily encouraged by my mother, that Anna is Vincent's kid. How are you explaining away the not-shifting bit? It's not widely known, and there are other conditions that could cause it, including a psychological block. They are rare, but not as rare as a half-human were. Who else knows? Juno and Cal, because we grew up together and their family. Mick, too. He was one of Roscoe's seconds, the only person my mother could rely on when I was gone. Aside from that, my mother told no one. But I'm starting to question that. I can only imagine Serena being interested in Anna. Because she's half-human, and if Serena knows... There's no telling who else does, he finishes. I drum my fingers on the table, thinking this through. Max didn't say anything useful about the Loyals. He doesn't know much, aside from the names of a few low-level members. The Loyals recruited him because he has ties to some of my seconds and easy access to Anna, but they didn't trust him enough to reveal anything. He didn't know who he was going to hand Anna to. Do you think the Loyals know about Anna? A thoughtful pause. It's a possibility, but it's more likely that they're using my only living relative to force me to listen to their demands. They know I'm the rightful alpha and that no one could take me in the challenge. He sounds more resigned than proud. It's not a well-thought-out plan on their part, but they are desperate and damn annoying. He massages the bridge of his nose. Can't they just secede and form their own pack? They're very welcome to do so, and they'd make my fucking life much easier. But they don't have the resources or the necessary leadership to do it. What they want is control of the financial assets of the Southwest Pack. Emery comes from a long line of powerful Wers, and she sees it as her due. But for the past few months, the Loyals have been sabotaging construction projects, destroying infrastructure, assaulting my seconds. No one who'd resort to that should be in control of the largest pack in the country. Or of a chicken coop, if you ask me. I bite my lower lip, mulling it over. Who is Anna's father? My mother never told me. My impression is that he already had a family, and that when she attempted to mention Anna to him, he didn't believe her. Yeah. Can't blame him. So going back to Serena, aside from you, only Juno, Cal, and Mick know about Anna. Could any of them? I give him a long, pregnant look that will hopefully tell him what I'm not planning to voice. He shakes his head and starts cutting the sandwich out of its crusts. I follow the rhythm, mesmerized by his graceful hands, and recall that this is something Serena used to prefer for her food when we were. Younger than Lowe, for sure. I would not have thought a big bad wolf would be this picky. Not to be a discord sower, and I promise this is only marginally related to Juno's hankering for carving my organs out. But maybe you should investigate the possibility that one of them tattled you out. I did, despite them having risked their lives for me a dozen times over. He says it angrily, like it was sour and painful, something he's ashamed of, and a thought hits me. That maybe Lowe is the kind of leader who measures his strength not by the battles he wins, but by the trust he is able to accord to others. There is something about him, about the way he commands, that manages to be at once pragmatic and idealistic. He sets the crusts aside and leans his palms on the table once more, leveling with me. I asked. They're not involved, and they haven't told anyone. Okay, yes, but there is this thing people sometimes do, which you guys may not have a term for. The vampires call it lying. His look is withering. I'd be able to tell if they were betraying me. Is this the smell-a-lie thing? Does it really work? This time he's less impressed by my knowledge of we're secrets. Perhaps because they aren't secrets at all. Not always, but scent changes with feelings, and feelings change with behavior. I scowl. I still can't believe you knew Max was lying all along and still put a guard on me. I put a guard on you for your safety. Oh, he did. I had not considered that. It takes a long second for my assessment of the last 5 days to adjust, and, oh, indeed. I can take care of myself. Against a young were with no combat training, yes. Against someone like me, doubtful. I could scoff and be offended, but I like to think that I know my limits. Does it build up? What? The odor. Just wondering if that's why I smell like fish soup to you. Have I lied too much in my life? It's a genuine question, but Lowe sighs deeply and leaves me hanging. He puts the food back in the fridge with one glaring exception, the peanut butter. My gluttonous brain must be strained by the biological possibility of we're humans, because it dispatches my hand to scoop up a little glob from the rim, right to my lips, and it's been so long, it's so fucking good. What the hell? I open my eyes. Lowe stares curiously at the way I'm suckling on my index finger. Did you just eat? No, I flush, mortified. No, I repeat, but the peanut butter sticks to the roof of my mouth, garbling the syllable. I was told vampires don't eat food. I can't remember the last time I felt this degree of embarrassment. Serena made me, I blurt out. Lowe glances around, to the 0 number of Serenas in sight. Not now, but she made me try it for the first time. I wipe my finger off on my shirt, humiliating. The ensuing addiction was all mine, I concede with a mumble. Interesting. His gaze is sharp and he seems more than interested. He seems intrigued. Please kill me now. So you can digest food. Some of it, our molars are mostly vestigial, so no chewing, but peanut butter is smooth and creamy, and I know it's wrong, but I shiver with how amazing it tastes, and with how shameful and self-indulgent food eating is considered among vampires. Not even living among the humans has beaten the belief out of me. Not even watching Serena scarf down 3 cups of instant udon noodles at 2 a.m. because she felt a bit peckish. This is so undignified. Can you please not tell anyone and throw my corpse in the lake after I run myself through the garbage disposal, which I'm going to do right now. His lips twitch into the ghost of a smile. You're embarrassed. Of course. Because you're eating something you don't need to survive. Yes. I eat for pleasure all the time. He shrugs as though his broad shoulders want to agree with him. We have a healthy appetite. We require nourishment. Just pretend it's blood. It's not the same. Vampires don't drink blood for pleasure. We scarf it down when we need to and then don't think about it. It's a bodily function. Like, I don't know, peeing. He takes a seat across from me, and fuck him. I hate him so much for the way he pushes the jar in my direction, holding my eyes the entire time. He is daring me. And it says something about how far gone I am for this stupid, addictive nut paste that I'm considering having a little more. And then I just do. What do vampires do for pleasure? He asks, voice a little hoarse. I don't want to flash my fangs at him, but it's hard when I'm licking peanut butter off my fingers. Not sure. My time among them was exclusively as a child, when rules abounded, and indulgences were in short supply. Owen, the only adult vampire with whom I have regular exchanges, enjoys gossiping and making caustic remarks. Father has his strategic maneuvers and softcore coups d'etat. How the others amuse themselves in their spare time, I have no idea. Fucking, probably. Please take this away from me. He doesn't. Instead, he stares too long and too intensely, rejoicing in my lack of control. When he lowers his eyes, it seems to require some effort. What could Serena be investigating? His voice is gravelly and sobering. She never mentioned the words to me, not even in passing, but she didn't love her colleagues in the financial division. Maybe she was angling for a better job and exploring non-financial stories, though she would have told me. Would she? She was clearly hiding stuff from you, a nagging voice offers. I shush it. I do know that she wouldn't have gone public with a story that had the potential to endanger a child. I'm not sure Lowe believes me, but he strokes his jaw, carefully gathering his thoughts. Either way, our priorities match. We both want to find out who told Serena about Anna. For the first time since this sham marriage, no, for the first time since that hag Serena didn't show up to help me change my sheets, I feel a real, genuine burst of hope. L.E. Moreland is not just a stray breadcrumb, but a thread to hold on to and tug at. I'm going to give you access to whatever technology you need, not that you ever asked for my permission, he adds with a drawl. You should look into Serena's communications in the weeks before her disappearance. I know you already tried, but you should cross-reference it with our data. I'll give you information about Anna's whereabouts that might help bring more insight, and Alex will help and monitor you. I make a face, which has him adding sternly, you are still a vampire living in our territory. And here I was, thinking we were firmly in the reluctant alliance stage of our marriage. I don't mind the supervision. It's more that Alex appears to be as good a hacker as I am, the one area in which I allow myself to be competitive. Okay, thanks, I add, a bit sullen. He nods once. The conversation comes to a bit of a lull, which then stretches into something of an awkward silence, which means that Lowe is done with me. I'm being dismissed. I give one last half-loathing, half-longing glance at the peanut butter jar and stand, pushing my hands down into the pockets in my shorts. I'll start tonight. I'll have Mick bring you something to put on them. I'm confused, then notice that his eyes are slowly traveling down my bare legs. Ah, my feet! I shiver, but it's not cold. Now that I think about it, this place hasn't been cold in days. And your shoulders, and your side. I frown. How do you know my side hurts? Professional hazard. I tilt my head. Doesn't he have an architecture degree? Do I look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa? We teach young wers to study potential enemies for weaknesses. You've been rubbing your rib cage. That profession. Do you need medical attention? Nah, it's just more burns. I lift my shirt and let it pool right under my bra, angling slightly to show him. My tank top was askew, and the sun managed to get. All of a sudden, his pupils are as large as the irises. Lowe abruptly turns his head in the opposite direction. The tendons of his neck stretch and his Adam's apple bobs. You should leave, he says, gruff, cutting. Oh. His shoulders relax. Go take another one of your baths, Misery. His voice is husky but kinder. Right, the smell. Sorry about that. I'm at the bottom of the stairs when Anna comes racing down the steps, almost crashing into me. Her eyes are full of tears and my heart clenches. Are you okay? I ask, but she runs past me, straight toward her brother. She's babbling something about bad dreams and waking up scared. Come here, love, he tells her, and I turn to study them. Watch him lift her into his lap, push her hair back to kiss her forehead. It was just a nightmare, okay? Like the others. Anna hiccups. Okay. You still don't remember what it was about. A few sniffles. Just that Mama was there. Their voices lower to soft whispers, and I turn to climb the stairs. The last thing I hear is a phlegmy, okay, but did you cut the crusts off? And a deep, hushed response that sounds a lot like, of course, love.